Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Weisman Unified School District's board meeting for September 9th, 2025. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. And Wendy, would you please take roll call?
Mr. Martinez?
Present.
Ms. Legaspi? Present. Ms. Chappie? Present. Dr. Goldman?
Present.
Mr. Van Willow?
Present.
Thank you.
In honor of Tony's return to the district and surprised to see him here today, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Be honored.
Oh, sorry.
Right hand over your heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are on item 4.1. Is there a motion to adopt our regular agenda as submitted today?
You have a motion. Second.
Any questions, comments?
Looking forward to the short meeting we have.
I think you're gonna get 4 more seconds on that, but all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Wendy, do we have any comments from the public on non-agenda items? None online, none here. Okay, thank you. And today we have, according to our superintendent, we have 1 short presentation, which means 2 longer ones. Blake, why don't you go ahead and take the introduction for presentation number 1, please.
Sure. Tony, I'm just a question. Are we on video? Is that working? Like, what do we do here? Like, are you all good?
We're
We
good.
don't need to worry about it.
It's online.
People can see.
Yes, they can. Do you want to see yourself?
I don't. I just wanted to make sure. I'm sorry.
He has no mirrors in
I
his
was
house.
wondering.
It's been a minute. I can zoom in on you if you want.
Right in.
Okay, sorry. Want to actually turn over to Maggie, the first, because I think it's a zoom in.
Yeah. it's
Okay,
a
go
zoom
ahead.
in, are they-
Take it away.
Okay.
I think you could probably sit at your,
I can
unless
sit
you
up.
want to stand. And
I know.
Yeah.
But my watch might tell me to in an hour. It does. I'm very competitive, so I like will do one. It's Holly Stipend, Katie Martin.
Katie Martin. Okay. Do not see Katie. Let's see.
You see Holly?
No, I do not. Oh, wait. I do now.
So
Right, they are.
I got it alone. So to give you a little bit of a background, Learner Center Collaborative is who we have partnered with to work on our shift to a standards-based report card. So they're here as kind of our resident experts in this process and procedure. And so we wanted to introduce all of you to them. Some people in this room, Ms. Elder is one of them, is actually on the design team. So these are like familiar faces to some of our teachers who have already started to begin this process. But we wanted you to know who they are, like what their credentials are, where they're coming from, and what our plan is in Weisburn moving ahead with this in the next year. I know I presented this when we talked about LREBG and using those funds to fund this. Now here's the work that we're actually going to be funding.
Can you all hear? Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Katie.
Oh, wonderful. And Maggie, is the presentation shared or should I share that?
We're shared. You've got it.
I can do it. if she
Yeah, it's
wants.
up to you. What do you prefer?
It's okay if you share it. I just can't see it. So should I just tell you when to go to the next slide?
Sure.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. We are very excited to be here. I'm Katie Martin, co-founder and co-CEO of Learner Center Collaborative, joined with my amazing colleague, Holly Stipe, who's been leading the work in Weisburn. And we just want to share a little bit about the approach and the work we're doing and be here to answer questions for any of you. So one of the quotes that I like to start with on slide 2, the future's not ours to see, but ours to create. And as we think about the world in which we live in right now, there's a lot of change, AI, disruption. We want to be leading as educators and leaning into design and create the environments and experiences for our young people that align to those outcomes.
Katie, let's just real quick stop. This is Blake, hi. Are we not?
Presentation pulled up.
I've got 7 presentations right now.
Okay.
So I'm trying to sort through those.
So give us 1 second, Katie, just
No,
because
it's
you were
all good.
speaking and there was nothing on the screen but you.
I'm trying to find that one. Apologies. I'm so sorry.
If she presents, she can see what she's.
I could share. If
Why don't you want to, Tony, can we just have her do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have you do it, Katie. And then,
Thank you, Katie.
Of course.
Put his mind there, he says.
Okay, now do you see the screen?
Got it. We sure do.
Great. Well, then I'll go back to the quote just so you can all see the quote I was talking about around this is our opportunity, we really believe, to design the future that we want for the young people that we serve every day and the adults as well. So our vision and mission at Learner Center Collaborative is really around creating an ecosystem where all learners know who they are, thrive in community, and actively engage in the world as their best selves. I'm a mom of 2 young people in high school. I want this so much for my kids, and I want it for all of our kids. So we do that by coming together, defining those outcomes we want, designing with communities, and creating those enabling conditions. And we really aspire to be trusted and responsible partners, curious and humble learners along with all of you. We are courageous as we lean into this work and strive to build inclusive communities, and ultimately be impact driven. We want to see the impact of the work really make a difference in communities. We do this as a network, and we know this network approach is really critical, and it's possible at scale when we connect, grow, learn, and share in communities and beyond. And so we have an amazing team. We also bring in research and leverage tools from our community to really make sure that we're doing the best for our partners. And I'm a former middle school language arts teacher, connected with a lot of the team around that passion. So our whole team is educators by trade, and we've held roles from classroom to superintendency, and our goal really is to step alongside educators doing this work. And you are in Wiseburn, part of our network of partners. We have about 30 deep partnerships that we are doing this work as in Wiseburn around designing with communities, whether it's assessment systems, whether it's brand new schools, whether it is portfolio systems around those whole learner outcomes, portraits of a learner, and helping to put that vision into practice. So this network and these partners are how we are learning, but also bringing together the most effective practices around the country. And this is really grounded in our framework that we call this ecosystem that is centered around the outcomes that we want for young people. Portrait of a learner, portrait of a graduate, different terms, but really thinking about what is it that we in a community want for young people? What do we believe about learning? And how do we design our schools? And these enabling conditions are very much aligned to this work here in Wiseburn around assessment, around reporting, and how do we create those systems that help us really know that we are achieving those desired outcomes. And then the culture, what we believe about young people, how we work together, permeate all the things we do. So getting into the work specifically about grading that I know you all have some questions about, this is a hard truth to really think about, but as much as we want grades to reflect what students know and do, they often communicate what teachers individually value and how well students can comply with those rules. And it's a challenging thing to think about because it's a system we've grown up in and we want them to be so true and we want them to matter. But there's such variance in what a grade means across systems, across classrooms, and across teachers. So this really important work in Wiseburn, and it's been really great to see this work come to life. And I love this assessment philosophy that the design team in Wiseburn created through conversations, through community, through feedback, really to define why this work matters and why the grading and reporting shift is happening, and then get to the how. And so this is something that has been designed and will be the anchor. These are the core talking points, and then there's longer documents that do describe the philosophy as well. But some key points here, we're really looking at accurately describing learners' current academic proficiency and progress, focusing on learners' strengths and areas of growth, one of my favorites, fostering student ownership of learning, accommodate diverse learning styles, and clearly communicating learning progress. And this has been designed, of course, by this team, but informed by research and what we know about learning and assessment. So the approach in our work and in this collaboration with the design team and Wiseburn, when we've gotten to collaborate with the whole district, is think about forming a coalition for change. So this is the voices who want to share the feedback. They're coming to these sessions, they're learning, and they're going back out to the community to get feedback. And it's a really important place to understand and honor the traditions, yet push for evidence-based change. And this is how we evolve in schools. We don't just throw everything away. We understand what's working, we pull that forward, and things that are no longer working, we move aside and make room for more evidence-based practices aligned to those outcomes. As we mentioned, addressing the why before the what and how, and sometimes that gets twisted sometimes in systems, and we implement a program without really understanding why we're doing it or what those goals are. And that's why it's been really important in this process to define the why first, and then starting to pilot with feedback loops to understand, does the solution we've come up with actually address our why, and is it helping us get to those desired outcomes? So this has been the timeline, where the blue is what we've done, starting with all staff back in November of 24. And that was awesome. I got to be there with the whole staff to kick this work off. And then we've had multiple design team days to come up with the assessment philosophy. And then we'll continue moving forward, designing, testing, and prototyping these the new report card. And as we think about this work, it's really important to see the whole elephant, but also we like to think about this as taking one bite at a time, because it's overwhelming. And if we just try and do it all at once, sometimes not everyone understands why, and we can make some mistakes. So we want to go slowly to really understand and have the best prototype so that we can scale the most effective practices. And so this is just a little bit more detail if you all have questions, but in that timeline, this is a little bit more about what we've done throughout each phase of the partnership as we've been gathering input, casting the vision, and really developing that philosophy. And this next phase is really about turning the philosophy into action. So we're really excited to work with the team and develop that prototype and get to a new report card that really aligns with the vision. So that is the quick, short present, and I know that there was potentially some questions. So I will stop sharing, and maybe Maggie, if you could help direct any questions.
Absolutely.
Any questions from the board?
I'm confused at this last slide that you had. It says 24, 25. Where are we in the timeline? Because we're in 25, 26.
Yes. So the first phase was 24, 25 last year, and defining the philosophy and building the vision, and the year moving forward.
I missed the next slide.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The next phase, yes, is when we're putting it into practice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the report cards. Are we speaking about report cards that teachers will see for assessments of the students, or are these report cards that the parents will see the report, at the regular issuance of a report card, or are we speaking about both? Can you clarify on what that is?
And I can speak to that, Kate, Dr. Martin. So it's gonna be both. So it's gonna be how we take our assessments that we're using in our classrooms and how we're informing our parents, our community partners about a child's progress so far. So in all, our end work is going to be a new structured like achievement report. Like, what is that gonna look like to notify a parent how their child is progressing within the California standards? Right now, our current report card doesn't notify you other than like an A or a B or a C, like how you're actually doing in reading. Like, where are those gaps? Where are those really big strengths there? And so we would like to be able to inform our parents about that.
So the comments in the report card from the assessment from our teachers will be much more robust.
Much more robust.
Okay,
Yeah,
it'll
they
be
give a
more
lot more
more of an explanation,
Yeah.
because as a parent, I mean, they are very useful.
Right,
Um,
absolutely.
Because if you don't have much to go off of and you
Right.
just see your traditional grade,
Yeah,
you see an A and great, but if
Right.
you see a C, you see a B, you're not
Right.
sure.
right.
Or you see
Yeah.
a lower one, so I like this aspect of it, because I think we do need to bring in our parents, informing them, because not everyone can, well, everyone should, but not everyone can
Yeah.
make the parent-teacher conferences as well. So
Right.
I think this might be a nice bridge as well in terms of the reporting,
Yeah.
to get a little bit, get more substance in the report cards.
Right.
So will there still be grades?
That's what we actually don't know yet, because
Okay.
the design team in our decision making at our first meeting, which is gonna be on September 30th, that's what we're gonna determine what we're gonna use as that factor. We have been looking at moving more to a numerical system. Where we lie is like, are we gonna go with a 1, 2, 3 that some of our neighbor districts, or are we gonna go with a 1, 2, 3, 4, and really define out what those mean? Right? Like, what does it mean to be a 1? Like in traditional grading systems, an A represents a 90% and above, but in what? Like, we're gonna say this is a 1 in this standard that we're putting on the report card. And then we're gonna be designing rubrics to support each of those on there for our teachers to use as a guide to be able to give that kind of mark, more or less.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the makeup of the committee that has convened?
No, that's a great thing. Actually, Ms. Alter's here. Do you want to speak? She's one of the. No, actually, she's one of them. So we've asked for representation at every grade level. We actually didn't say no to anyone. So anyone that was willing to do it, but what I did ask, because this is one of the first things that we started, that my work began last year in Wiseman, was 1 per grade level, because our TKs and Ks do this, so they have a different level of expertise to share with the team. Traditionally, they don't, and so this is so great to see. And then we've asked for representation in every department at the middle school. And so that's those voices, and then, they can report back correctly to their departments about the information that's coming through. And then we have members of the special education team as well, and then all site admin are involved.
So,
Yeah.
as you described, Katie, this is definitely headed towards a more robust system. So
Yes.
probably a significant change for parents and the community. Obviously, the teachers, it sounds like they're going to be involved. They'll have some communication that's taking place actively during the phase 1 and probably now obviously in the phase 2. How are we going to relay this message ultimately to the parents? Because I think this could be a significant change for them.
No, this is, and we're gonna get in front of it. So
Okay.
I've already kind of pseudo scheduled some meetings to get out into the community to talk about what we've been building, like, utilizing our PTA meetings, maybe holding an online forum for parents to come ask questions and get feedback for, to start with. But this isn't gonna be like a new thing that we just start without kind of getting input from them. What
Great.
we want to do is gain a little bit of a structure from our team first to present to
Makes
them.
sense.
We don't have, we're still in the design process. Once that's happened, we're gonna go ahead and begin those meetings, probably in the spring of next year,
Great.
2025. or
Great.
since.
Great. Thank you. At least, I think that, yeah, what I heard is we're going to get out in front of it, and I think
Yeah.
that's critical. So,
Right. It's important. There are partners that are
Yeah.
need to be able to, can they read this and understand what we're saying?
Right.
So we
Right.
need that input, definitely.
great.
And then just 2 questions quickly. I'm assuming this will be integrated with our PLC process. I
Absolutely.
don't know that that's specifically here, but
Yeah.
it seems like an obvious, it should be, could be, will be.
Right, and actually, our teams did such great work around essential standards last year, and we actually pulled each grade level team as well as, and those essentials are probably what we're gonna highlight on the report card. So by choice and by team design, like every grade level is gonna look a little bit different. Every subject area at the middle school is gonna look a little bit different. So I mean, that's question number one of the PLC, and then number two is, how do we know if kids know it? Well, we're gonna tell you right here if they do as well. Like, we know if they do as teachers, but now we're gonna tell your parents as well, so.
And then the second question requires you to be a little clairvoyant, but do you have any read on where the teachers are with this in terms of their acceptance or looking forward to it or hesitant or, I don't know.
I mean, I think with anything new, like this is probably scary because it's new. I mean, like Dr. Martin had shared, we began this work back in November. We revisited it in February as a whole staff. And then our design team's been working in the background. So our design team, like, I want to say thank you to all the work that they do. And they're aware, I've communicated some of the work that's going to be coming up this year. And bravo to them for that. So no, I can't be clever to say it's not scary. I do know it's going to be scary. And so my job is to help support them. And we have Learner Center Collaborative, who are the experts in this area, to help me support them and help our teachers support this as well. And so they've been really clear. Everyone's left a little bit like as, oh, this is cool. Like we've done something really good. The work we've done is really great. And everyone in that room is a believer in it. From my point of view.
I'll be a little clairvoyant too. I like that word. I think one of the things is that, it's in education, oftentimes we, paint this great picture and all the positive stuff. We like to share with the board those things. I do think that it's important for us to know that this will have challenges. I know in construction, we see it. I think I've sort of taken on this, through the construction of all these, with the dirt that was like a trampoline and all of that. It's like these things just come up, and I just think we need to have grace and space to grow as an organization to figure out where those speed bumps are. And it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for administrators. It's going to be a challenge for teachers because it's new. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's new. And so I just want to kind of put that out there, as great as it is, and as I think as important as the work is to truly assess students in an authentic way. It's also going to bring with it some challenges. And so, I don't know what those are, so I can't, but I do suspect that we'll have to navigate.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And we do have some insight into what some of the challenges are in other systems where I think that's where we can help Maggie get ahead of some of the conversations with families and teachers. Anything new is hard, and moving away from a system that we've been using for 100+ years and that people are comfortable with does bring challenges. But when you see the opportunity to know more about where your child is and to have those conversations, we see on the other side of that change, the benefits far outweigh that. But I don't disagree. And I love the idea that you're thinking about providing grace and time and just acknowledging that a change effort will make some people uncomfortable.
Just what a comment as the team and the committee looks at assessing students in different ways, I do want to make sure that the team is looking at testing systems, because I understand that we're potentially moving in a different direction and it's new. It may be more subjective in certain areas, like with for example, with knowledge or mastery-based grading. However, the rest of the world isn't there yet. And what I mean by that is if a student graduates from high school and they take courses in college, they're not using this grading system. It's a test, right? If I go and I take my general contractor's license or my construction manager's license, it's a test. And I don't get 3 or 4 redos. I get one, or I have to do the whole thing all over again. So I think I'm very interested in the topic, but I do want us to proceed with some caution and making sure that we continue some of the metrics and the parameters so that our students can also be successful with their testing. Because if they take courses, say at a community college or for dual enrollment or assess advanced placement, it's not this type of assessment, right? They don't get that opportunity to an interview to see what they know. It's a test.
And I agree with you. And I think there are going to be some assessments that look very traditional to identify if you do know that standard. In some, like in our especially in our middle schools as well. And it could be even at some of our elementary schools. But what we want is, we want to guarantee that like all kids can read and we know where that gap might be in their reading so that they can go to the AP test and take it, right? Like that's what we're not notifying our community currently on, so that we can ensure that our kids are leaving Wiseburn being able to access that at that highest level. And so that's one thing this whole team is working on, like with the action.
So part of this assessment of our students would still include testing.
Mhm.
It's just, I guess, evaluated in a different way. So I'm very curious to see what that is. So, and sometimes it does take some courage to go into a new direction, but that doesn't mean that we don't validate and really research. So I appreciate the team looking at this, and that's one of the key points that I wanted to share today, and I'm looking forward to a future update on it.
Yeah, thank you.
So Rebecca?
Yeah, just as we talk about assessments and how we're helping students get to those different levels, I'm curious where homework factors in to the conversation and how that, yeah. So,
I mean,
yeah, just,
Yeah, and I think that's great from your perspective as a parent and a board member, and something that this committee can definitely look into,
yeah,
as well. And that actually has been a talking point of like, is that something we assess and put on a report card, or is that a work habit? So we're having these conversations amongst that team.
yeah. I guess it's also, for me, it's a
Yeah.
conversation about like how much should be happening in the classroom versus how much are we asking our parents to help do outside of the classroom in order to get to that level of, and what are we assessing on?
Right.
And
Right.
I've seen those grading rubrics, will take into depending on different teachers, even at the middle
Right.
school or, different elementary teachers, if you do homework, it counts as different weights towards grades. So just curious how that's going to factor
Yeah.
into the overall sort of rubrics and assessments and things like that.
Right.
I think that sort of goes to Roger's point too, which was, in college or another, if a student leaves Wiseburn Middle School and goes to another school that maybe not Da Vinci, and then that experience may be different. And so we have to take into account like some of those things as well. How do we universally provide good assessment and good grading for students in middle school that's gonna also be good for them as they move on? And I think the same goes with assessment. And I had a good conversation with Dr. Goldman earlier today, and kind of, because there is this need for one and done tests. Some of the tests exist. There exists, you go to college, there's finals, there's midterms, there's all of those things. And, it seems like that's not going anywhere anytime soon. And colleges still are the tail that wags the dog. And so making sure that students in high school, middle school are being prepared for some of those more high stakes tests as well. And mastery-based grading not being the absence of that, right? Where just because I got a 2 on something doesn't mean I can always go back and make it a 4. I mean, if that makes sense, right? That there is some level of accountability, I guess, on test taking, and not losing sight of that as well. So I don't know if that captured it.
It does.
Exactly, but.
Yeah, and that,
My comment, Leah.
Go ahead, Katie.
that's part of the conversation, and I think sometimes we can conflate because they're the assessment and the reporting aspect of it, and then the test. So there's reporting and the standards or the that are identified as what we want kids to know and do. How we figure out how to get them. The learning is, we might have some retakes and allow them to show mastery in the classroom. And then you're right, there are times there's standardized tests, and that happens at a certain time in the year. And that's the summative assessment there that we're defining that point in time. So there is room for all of it. I think at the end, we want to make sure that young people are learning the skills as they're growing and developing, especially in their elementary years, to make sure that they are well versed and able to attend to many different types of situations, and that we give them the best shot possible to know what they know, to figure out how to get support, and to continue learning, and then be able to, whether it's a test, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a project or in collaboration, really show what they know, and get the support that they need.
One final comment. First of all, thank you for this good work, everybody.
Yeah.
You, Dr. Martin, you and your team and Maggie, all of you have done this multiple times before with other schools. And every time you do this, you learn. And ideally, you get better for the next school, which is great to our benefit. So here's my challenge to you and the team. let Wiseburn be the school that you did such an amazing district, that you did such an amazing job preparing the teachers such that when you go elsewhere, that's the model. Because that's my biggest concern, that we prepare the teachers, that we give them the safety, the support, the knowledge they can do it, so they can in turn give it to the kids. So that would be my challenge to you guys.
I love that so much. And I just want to say Maggie has done a phenomenal job, really being thoughtful about this. And it's so easy in places to just say, just give us the report card. We just want to do a new report card and move on. And this process with the why and the philosophy and bringing the team along, it has really been a great partnership with Maggie and the district. And we do feel like we are going to be able to bring many people to Wiseburn and see this model and see what's possible in doing this really well.
Changing the world, that's all we ask.
That's right. Designing the future. It's happening.
Thank you.
On that high note, does anybody else have any questions?
Just one quick comment. Thank you, Dr. Martin and team, for the wonderful presentation, and Maggie as well. And I look forward to seeing the results of the work that lies ahead. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Great. Thank you.
Katie and
Thank you, Katie.
Holly, have a good night.
You too.
That was the short one.
I told them-
Sorry.
There's the short. You're still on, Katie. It was all of us that made it long.
We are moving on to section 6.2 and Sean to present our 2025-26 unaudited actuals.
This is one of the long ones, apparently.
And we're done.
We really like this camera view too, Tony.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
I'm good with it.
Right here.
Thank you, Tony.
Very well.
All right, good evening, members of the board, staff, members of the public. I'm Sean Kernan, the Chief Business Official, and I will be presenting the 2024-25 unaudited actuals. Is this working?
There you go.
Pointed at Tony. It's computer, right? Yeah.
So just a brief overview, quickly go over the financial reporting cycle. We will do a comparison of the estimated actuals to the unaudited actuals for the general fund for the unrestricted and the restricted side. We will take a look at our general fund reserve balance, kind of the end results of our unaudited actuals. We'll take a look at the ending fund balances for our other funds. And then we'll kind of take a look at some next steps and considerations as we move forward in regards to the start of school, kind of staffing and enrollment, kind of taking some of those things and incorporating them into our next formal budget update, which will be the first interim in December. So we are at the unaudited actuals portion of our financial reporting cycle. So I kind of equivocate it to kind of step 9 out of 10. Step 10 kind of being the results from our 2024-25 independent audit. So that will be finalized in December. December 15th is the deadline for that. So the auditors will come in, they'll take a look at our year-end closing process, take a look at our unaudited actuals, and make sure all of the proper steps were taken and make sure that our financial statements are presented fairly and do not contain any sort of material misstatements or anything of that nature. So per education code, we're required to complete the unaudited actuals, take to the board for approval on or before September 15th of every year. The governing board of the school district shall approve in a format prescribed by the superintendent of public instruction, i.e. in the state of California, our SACs, our standardized account code structure reporting format, which is what you see before you, which is what all public school districts throughout the state of California are required to present in the same format. And these financials communicate the accurate information to the board, the public, and auditors as to how the district ended the fiscal year. So for our unaudited actuals, we are officially closing the books in the months of July and August. So that those are busy months for the Business Services Department. We're taking a look at a lot of our year-end kind of closing invoices, any invoices through June. We're accruing those, we're paying those. So in July and August, we're kind of running parallel fiscal years. We're closing out 24-25, and we're also operating the 25-26. So we're taking a look at all of our expenditures, making sure all of those are being accounted for that are attributable to the 24-25 fiscal year. We're taking a look at all of our revenues, our federal, state, and local dollars. So for our federal and state dollars, we're referring to CDE funding exhibits. We're basically making sure all of our federal and state revenues are accounted for properly. We have grant award letters that we're comparing those to CDE funding exhibits to make sure that all of our revenues are being recorded properly. We're taking a look at our LCFF funding formula, our LCFF calculator. We're looking at property taxes, our education protection account, state aid, all of that to make sure that all of our LCFF revenue is properly accounted for as well. We're looking at a lot of our restricted dollars. We're looking at our unrestricted side. We're looking at the proper coding of each. And so this year we really focused on our restricted dollars. So any carryover balances that we have from prior years, any expenditures that might have been coded throughout the course of the year to the unrestricted side, looking if we could move some of those funds over to the restricted side, assuming that whatever those expenditures were deemed allowable under those restricted funding sources. We're looking at all of our programs, special ed, routine restricted maintenance, LCFF supplemental, and we're doing our contributions over to those programs to make sure that they're properly accounted for and closed out. We're looking at various programs that we can charge indirect costs to, and then we're doing a lot of true up between the district and Da Vinci in regards to special ed, rent, parcel tax, things of that nature, so that everything's properly accounted for. So that's kind of the July and August in a nutshell. So there's a lot going on. But the end result is our unaudited actuals. So so this slide, this is the unrestricted general fund. And so this is kind of just our comparative analysis of our estimated actuals, which is kind of the last final budget to close out the fiscal year end. And so we're looking at estimated actuals compared to the unaudited actuals, and we're looking at all the major object code categories for revenue and expenditures. So the variance column, I've kind of put a rationale as to kind of some of those major variances, so I can go through those. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So LCFF and federal revenue, kind of minor variances there. Local revenue, we had a pretty big variance there. So roughly almost half of that variance is for an adjustment that we have to record every fiscal year if the fair market value of cash is deemed material. So each year, as of June 30, we get a report from the LA County Treasury. They look at basically what is the true value of a dollar at that stated point in time. And so all of our funds, all of our cash is held at the county treasury level. So the value of a dollar at June 30th was roughly 97 cents to the dollar. So we have to take a look at our year-end cash balance, and we have to basically make that calculation, determine what that amount is, and we have to book that. It's not something that we budget for. It can have pretty significant swings. In 23-24, the fair market value adjustment was about $640,000. And so you could see this year, 24-25, that amount was about half. So it depends on what the fair market value rate is at that current time. And then it also depends on whatever our cash balances are at 6/30 year end.
Is that something we can get on an interim basis? Just, you won't change the numbers, but you can inform us?
We can maybe take a look this year to try and ballpark it at best. We don't get that final report until, we're going through the actual year-end closing process. We get that report towards the end of July.
School finance is the only place where a dollar does not equal a dollar, so it's all good.
On paper.
On
Yeah.
paper.
It really
On
does.
paper, it-
Dollar's still a dollar. That's what we were
Exactly.
talking
It doesn't impact our actual cash balance. It's an accounting entry. So you'll see, it will impact the cash balance, on the balance sheet. And then it either is a debit or a credit. So either a plus or a minus, to your local revenue, which is why you kind of see it show up there.
So Sean, I remember in a previous year, and I'm sorry, because I know we talked about this, and I just don't remember the answer, and maybe it would be helpful, but I know in a previous year, we had a big swing, and so we booked it, we showed it, and then like the next day, we basically reversed it.
That is what we do. Exactly. So yeah, again, it doesn't have an actual impact on our cash balance. It's just, it's a book entry.
So at first interim, we'll have it, it'll be reversed? Is that when the board would see it?
You'll see the adjustment sitting in the like a sub kind of cash balance. So you won't see it like on the actual revenue side. It's a reversal. So it's kind of sitting there.
We're gonna trust you on this one.
Yeah, it's an adjustment that we have to make every year. This is not something that has occurred every single year in my almost 14 years kind of in this role. The last couple of years, this amount has kind of been deemed material. So when you book it that first year and it hits kind of your balance sheet account, then from there, it's kind of sitting there, and each year you kind of have to adjust that balance based on what the new fair market value rate is each fiscal year. If we want to talk about it more in like a budget committee workshop or something like that, I would be happy to go through more specifics on it. But yeah, it's book entry. Thank you. Just for the essence of
So on that 328K, it's not at all related to like the interest money that we're making off bonds or anything like that.
Correct. So we do in the local revenue row, we receive quarterly interest on top of our cash balances each year. And so the county interest rate that we're actually earning on our cash balance sitting in the county treasury, on average, it was about 3.7%. So yeah, the better we kind of manage our cash flow and the more cash we have in the bank, it is kind of earning that daily interest, which in the current interest rate environment that we have now, it's actually pretty significant interest revenue that we're generating in all of our funds. So it is helpful, but yeah, that is the other side of the equation. And then some other local revenue that we always tend to take a conservative approach when kind of budgeting our local revenue sources. Some coats and grants came in above budgeted. We have a piggyback agreement with Murtha Pools. So any other districts that utilize that piggyback agreement for pool infrastructure upgrades, things of that nature, we receive a portion of that revenue, which is really nice. So we received a check of, I think it was about $50,000 as a result of one of those that was unaccounted for. And then we have some RAS revenue sharing agreements per our contract, which you'll see that today as well. So that's for the LOP program, kind of in addition to the students that we have through our program, they're additional students they have. And then some of our donations came in higher as well. And so as I said, part of that year-end closing process, we're looking at invoicing, WEF, any other donation accounts, things of that nature.
Do we get notice when someone uses the piggyback before, like
I've actually, yeah, I've been in contact with one of our contacts at Murtha Pools now. And so, yeah, trying to just kind of get a better heads up as to when that's kind of coming down the pipeline a little bit more.
When it comes to our piggyback contracts, which the district has two, we have the pool equipment and then we have the Tenkate fields. What happens when it comes to reimbursement from that use? The reimbursement comes after the contract has been paid in full by the the end party that's using the contract, and the product and or services had been installed and accepted. So it is a delayed process. It is not immediate. They are to provide us quarterly statements, and I've been reaching out to them and requesting those quarterly statements and sharing them with the team. I'm also requesting that this money that was received from Murtha was for the previous piggyback. It's not based on the new piggyback, which is also on the agenda tonight for an approval of an extension. I have asked because the current piggyback has a higher rate percentage that the district is going to receive back instead of the 1% with the previous contract that was in place. So I've asked them to add into their quarterly statements an indication of which contract is being used so I can ensure that the appropriate amount of money is coming back to the district.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you, Shirley. And then, so moving on into our certificated classified salaries and benefits, there were some savings there. So we looked at our Medi-Cal program, and so we didn't have all full salaries allocated towards the Medi-Cal program. So we looked at some of like our health techs and similar positions like that we're able to charge to Medi-Cal. Those were previously budgeted for and accounted for on the unrestricted side. So we were able to transfer some of those expenditures into the Medi-Cal program, which is a restricted program, but those are allowable expenditures under that program. So that was some savings realized on the unrestricted side. And in addition to that, the Expanding Learning Opportunities Program, we looked at some administrative and some classified support salaries, custodials. And so we looked at a 22, 23, 23, 24 fiscal year, and we were able to basically charge back some of the expenditures for those salaries that hadn't been charged there in previous years because admin principals and custodials are supporting those programs. And so we kind of double checked and conferred with our auditors to make sure that that was okay. And so we did that as well. We had budgeted for a portion of it, but when we actually closed the books, sorry. Yeah, there we go. We were able to transfer a little bit more when we actually ran the numbers. And then I have a little comment there about the classified salary retro. So based on the timing of the board approval of that agreement and that retro, we're working through the actual processing of that because it's a little more complicated than a straightforward kind of like 1% salary schedule increase or 2%. It's more of a restructuring of the salary schedule. That's kind of working through the process, but the timing of the board approval of that led us to we have to account for the majority of that expenditure in 24-25 because that's when it was approved. So we made an estimate for 24-25, and so we recorded that expense in that fiscal year. But we were kind of conservative. We didn't want to over kind of allocate. So there was just a slight difference between what we actually budgeted because we had planned to make that payment in 24-25. So we just kind of under allocated just to be on the safe side. And then in services and other operating, there was a pretty large variance there, savings as well. So we had an insurance assessment of about $116,000. That's in regards to the AB 218 assessments. ASCIP was kind of doing these one-time assessments kind of after the fact to kind of help kind of have a reserve to be able to pay out some of those claims as they've been coming through.
Other claims for sexual abuse or some sort of sexual assault in schools, and it opened it up to prior to years like
years back. Yeah, I think it went back almost 20 years was the assessment. So a lot of districts got these bills, but we had budgeted for the entire amount for 24-25. But in working with ASCIP, we were actually able to defer the payment. So we're breaking the payment up into 2 payments. So half of that will be paid in 25-26 and the other half will be paid in 26-27. So that kind of goes back again to like our cash flow, interest revenue and things like that to benefit from. We're happy to report that we did have some solar savings. Where it looks like it was in the ballpark of about $20,000. We haven't done a full assessment of the utility bills and looking at the solar savings. So that will be a more comprehensive look at those savings as we get more months behind us, and we actually have the time to kind of sort through those utility bills and look at what the actual savings are that we're generating, so that we can kind of continue to budget and project that going forward. We had a savings in attorney fees as well of about 65,000 compared to what we had budgeted. So happy about, our more kind of targeted, efficient use of attorney fees this year. And then contracted services, just kind of a litany of things: professional development, STAR program, Department of Toxic Substance Control. Those expenditures were charged here, and then billed back to Da Vinci. But now we're working with Da Vinci, and they're kind of paying those directly. American Fidelity with some ACA, Affordable Care Act reporting. Our contract for Power School Services, we're still kind of working through that to see what the end result is for that. So we haven't paid that bill currently. And then King Consulting, some related savings for kind of some cow shape services. We didn't spend as much as we anticipated. So that it was just kind of the conglomeration of a lot of different contracted services that led to the kind of remaining amount of that savings. And then, so when you kind of scroll down through the unaudited actuals column there, you look at our net surplus or deficit. And so we're happy to report that we had a net surplus of about 794,000. So again, the kind of caveat to that amount is, for kind of all intents and purposes, I kind of subtract out the fair market value adjustment to cash, that 328,000. And so that gets you to more of like, in my eyes, more of an actual surplus to the general fund on the unrestricted side. And so our ending fund balance did increase, fortunately. We still have our $500,000 stabilization agreement. We have our 3% required reserve for economic uncertainty. And then the remainder is falls to the bottom in that unassigned fund balance. So that's what we're kind of happy to report there on the unrestricted side. And then next slide, please, Tony. Thank you.
Before you go, on the district priorities, one of our goals is to increase our reserves. Where does this put us percentage wise? Any clue?
That I have that. I don't want to get there yet because I have a whole
you'll get
slide dedicated to it. That'll be,
Great.
Next slide. But I have that percentage
Just
to
trying to set
report
you
as well. Hey, thank you. It's like we're already on the same page. Yeah. And so, again, estimated actuals to unaudited actuals comparison. This is just on the restricted side of the general fund. And so just kind of highlighting, going through some of those variances again. So federal revenue, we had an increase, and that was due to Title I and some of our SPED funding. On the state revenue side, the majority of that increase is from the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. The CDE did a reallocation. We didn't get that information until towards the end of June, after we had already put together the estimated actuals budget. So in calendar year 2024, all the districts reported kind of where they were at with the ELOP program, how much funds they expended, how much funds they kind of had remaining. So a lot of districts have, including us, have pretty significant balances kind of sitting on their books because they gave us all this funding, and then it was, it took a year or two for districts to kind of roll out this program. And so what the CDE did was take kind of all those excess or all those unspent funds, and it was to the tune of about $300 million. So they took that and they basically reallocated it. And so that reallocation increased the district's allocation by about $300,000. So we were receiving a little over $1 million, and now the reallocation, we're receiving a little over 1.3. And then our fourth quarter lottery accruals, the last couple of years, they've been coming in a little bit higher than the CDE kind of initially projects. I think it's just,
Roger.
it's obviously that frenzy of people wanting to, win that 1.7 or $8 billion Powerball or whatever it was. I think lottery revenues seems like they've just been continuing to increase each year, which is nice for the districts. And then in our certificated classified salaries and benefits, we had some increases there compared to the estimated actuals. And again, that was just because of us utilizing the carryover in our unrestricted funds, in our restricted funds, especially for Medi-Cal and then ELOP. And then one of the biggest variances you'll see is in books and supplies, about $900,000. That's more of a timing issue. So we kind of, approve the Chromebook purchase, put the PO through, place the order. But we were not able to charge that expense in fiscal year 24-25 because we did not actually receive the Chromebooks before June 30th. So we received the Chromebooks in July. And so we have to record that expenditure in the current fiscal year 25-26. So that variance, you'll see that additional expenditure show up at first interim on the restricted side. The funds are still there. They're still available. LREBG, restricted lottery were the two funding sources that we're using for that purchase. So those funds, since we didn't expend them in 24-25, are just simply rolling over to 25-26 to account and make the same purchase. So that one's just a timing issue. Then on the services and other operating side, for ELOP, we always kind of budget kind of the full boat, the full contract for RAS. And so that came in lower than projected. And then we had some routine restricted maintenance, some repairs that were charged to routine restricted maintenance. We took a closer look at those. We deemed those capital repairs since they'll last obviously longer than a year. They've kind of extended the life of some of the services that they provided. So we transferred some of those expenditures over to Fund 14. And then when you look at other outgo, our other outgo, that's kind of accounting for some of the back and forth with DaVinci. In working with Kim over the summer, during our year-end close, we identified a student who we've been paying for services for that is attributable to DaVinci. And so for 24-25 and 23-24 fiscal year, we were able to look at the sum total of those expenditures and basically as part of our year-end closing process, bill back DaVinci for their share of that, which was pretty significant for those two fiscal years. I think it was to the tune of about $120,000, I want to say. And so that wasn't previously accounted for in that estimated actuals. So that was the difference there. And then finally, when you look at other outgo, when you look at indirect costs, we charge less than we had projected. And so whenever we charge indirect costs, we charge indirect costs based on total expenditures in some of those restricted funding sources in those categories. So the fact that we did not charge that Chromebook purchase to LREBG, we just were simply not able to charge those additional indirect costs to that program since we had a lot less of an expenditure to that program. And so when you look at the bottom line there, we were projecting a deficit. We still ended with a deficit overall there, but that's just simply because we do have some pretty significant carryover in some of our restricted programs. That was LREBG, AMEM. Some of those were some of the larger funding sources that we've received in previous years. And as you can see, we're spending those down in the current year. So our ending fund balance on our restricted side, when you take into account all of our restricted programs, is about $5.1 million. And so all in all, when you look at the general fund combined, you do see a deficit, and that's the result of the restricted side of the house. You can see here, which was partially offset by that surplus on the unrestricted side. So if you look at the general fund as a whole, you'll see it as deficit spending, but when you look at the unrestricted side, we did end with a surplus, which is good. And then Next slide, please, Tony.
So we like ending with surpluses. Keep doing that.
We really do like ending with the surplus on the unrestricted side, and that's kind of what leads me to this slide. So this is our our district's rainy day fund, unrestricted general fund, and I'm also including Fund 17. Because when the state looks at your fund balance reserves, they include Fund 17 in that calculation. So you can kind of see that breakdown here. The committed funds of the 500,000, the 3% reserve for economic uncertainty, the unassigned amounts, the Fund 17 reserve. And so that gets us to a total reserve amount of about $6.5 million. And so for the district, that reserve percent represents about 14.8%. And at the school services workshop that we went to in July, they had a slide that showed what districts across the state, what their kind of average ending fund balances were. And that was for fiscal year ending 23-24. And so on average, unified school districts, this fund balance reserve percent was about 25%. And then for districts our size, which was ADA of about 1,000 to 5,000, it was at about that 24-25% as well. So you can see kind of where we do compare. And so the fact that we did end this year in a surplus is obviously continuing to help out. One of our district priorities, which is
We're close to our 26, 27 target, but we ain't where we need to be evidently.
What was our
Revisit that
Our target was
target.
15%.
I know we've always talked about trying to get 17-20%. I'm glad you're here now hearing 20-25%, because for a small district, we do need to have usually a higher reserve.
exactly,
So-
yeah, because with the smaller districts, you can get hit with some of these unforeseen expenses and it can have a significant impact. It can, kind of wipe out some reserves. So for us as a smaller district, it does benefit us to have
So we
higher
need to-
reserve
So for
percentages.
the budget committee, we probably need to look at our goals again.
Absolutely.
Much better position than we were. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that all those grants that we're going after also too, that should help to offset some of these other costs so that we can increase the amounts there too.
Yeah.
A program that we didn't have before.
When we do go through the whole exercise of applying for grants and which ones we want to, kind of to what Blake's point was, we do like getting those grant funds, but we're also, when we're looking at those, we're ensuring that whatever the district match is kind of comparable. We don't want to have to kind of invest additional resources, above and beyond what we're already doing, just to kind of satisfy certain grant requirements to maybe obtain a grant of $25,000, but it's going to cost the district an extra $100,000, to kind of satisfy those requirements. So that's kind of an exercise that we always go through when we're looking at grant funds, applying for those.
And I would say too, and I just in total transparency, was not saying it's not 20. So, you're talking about another 2 to 3%. I mean, I'm not looking at the total.
It's about, it's
2%.
about another 2%.
So, we are a little bit closer to 17, that I know the board had asked us to get back, years ago. So years ago.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Tony. And so these are the ending fund balance is in all of our other funds. So you can see we're in pretty good standing across the board. The only one I will note is Fund 63. You do see a very large negative ending fund balance there. Again, to me, it's kind of one of those book entries. It's an accounting entry. The state accounting requirements required us to basically realize a net pension liability that is associated with the staff that we have in our preschool program. And so it's basically us having to record this net pension liability for all the staff that operate our preschool program. And it's basically saying the district, you'd be on the hook to pay the pensions for all the associated employees that are within that program currently, and they take it to a net present value. It's a accounting requirement. It doesn't represent.
It doesn't even go on our books.
Exactly. It doesn't represent our true fund balance. Our enterprise fund for childcare, it pretty much, we balance the books every year for that program. So that's when you see like our transfers out, you'll see a transfer out from the general fund to the preschool program to basically balance the operating budget for that each year. So all intents and purposes, Fund 63 has a fund balance of 0.
That pension number increasing each year? I know, I completely understand it's just an accounting, but is it like next year, if I look at that number, does that number increase or decrease in terms of?
I would have to look at what the amount was last year versus this year, but for the most part, it does typically increase. Because I mean, they do factor in the actuarial studies that they do for CalPERS and CalSTRS at kind of that state level. And so, you know, depending on what amount are covered by the employer contribution side and the investment earnings kind of determines what the district's portion of that liability would be.
And the bond, does that represent A and B funding? Is that literally what was left at June 30 or?
Yes, yeah, that's Series A and
Series
B.
1 and 2?
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2, A and B, yeah.
Mainly B at this point.
Mainly B because we received the $34 million like the middle of June.
And we pretty well encumbered B at this point, have we not? Yeah, that's a good number, but it's gone.
We're down to a couple
It's accounted for.
Yeah, okay. Not gone in a bad way, judiciously allocated, yes.
I want to see
Yeah.
that because the encumbrances will follow with contracts.
Yeah.
And again, our next steps and considerations, kind of the last leg of the unaudited actuals is the completion of our 24-25 year-end audit, which is due to the state by December 15th. And so new school year rollout, we kind of see how the dust settles in regards to enrollment and staffing. And so a lot of those changes, everything else has kind of come down the pipeline. All of that will be factored into and considered and updated at the first interim budget report in December. And so as always, we're continuing to focus on increasing our ADA. Just like every kind of district throughout the state, we know there's some room for improvement. When you look at our ADA to enrollment percentage, there's room to grow there. And then we're continuing to monitor our SPED funding. Kim and I are meeting regularly and we're really making sure we're tracking everything accordingly. We're looking at the most efficient use of resources because not just our district, but across the state, SPED is, you know, continuing to kind of yes. I don't know what words to use to soften the blow, but it is what it is.
Does, I know this is more a first interim question, but on number 4, increasing the ADA, are we given the recovery program we have in place now, this will be the first year of that, are we going to change our calculation guesstimate percentage for what we use?
I'm still taking a conservative approach on that. And so once I see the actual numbers kind of shake out, when we do our P1, which is our first principal attendance reporting, that's kind of around that same time. That's typically, we report that like the beginning of January. We get a sense of it. Yeah, because I mean, the way we're recording the LROP, the independent study in our attendance system, we can obviously separately track what we are receiving for that. So yeah, once we what it looks like, then we will
Hopefully,
update
that's the
accordingly.
best, our biggest hope to raise that.
Exactly, definitely.
Sounded more like a second interim, maybe adjustment.
Yeah, once P1 is more
You'll have
official,
the first
then
interim and then we'll get the numbers and adjust it.
exactly. Yeah, because we can kind of look at trends for P1 versus P2. There's always a reduction in kind of ADA from.
Super
P1
curious to see
P2.
where that takes us. That'd be
Me
interesting.
too. Yeah,
Hope.
very hopeful.
Absolutely. Put some things in place to increase those numbers, so hopefully we see that.
And then I always just want to shout out the business services team. As I said, the months of July and August are by far we're doing the heavy lifting and there's a big demand on the department. And I mean, obviously without everybody there, it wouldn't be possible. So just kudos to everybody's effort because it takes everybody you see there and then some to actually complete the process. Thank you, team. Yeah,
Thank you, Sean, and
to you.
thank you to the rest of the team. Thank you for the presentation today.
Certainly.
All right. Thank you. We're going to move on to our next presentation. Item 6.3 on our agenda is a presentation by Dr. Blake Silvers on Wiseburn District priorities.
Well, you know what I decided to do today? I decided to take Noemi's thunder with the longest presentation. So, normally I know she sits up here and speaks for quite some time.
They have a little bit to report on, that's why.
So, as we're bringing it up, I just want to, thank the team, for the work on this. This is kind of a two-part presentation, and you all didn't see the presentation in your board packet, but you did receive all of the information in your priorities. It was a little more detailed. So bear with me that I am pulling out some of the key highlights here. It's obviously not as detailed as what you saw and what you'll approve today, as priorities. Want to take, again, it's bifurcated. So we'll take a look back. I know it says 25-26 because in 25-26, we're going to sort of look back at 24-25, the progress we made. I'll point out some of the changes just in the structure and as we transition to 25-26, how it looks a little bit different than it did in 24-25. So moving forward. Oh, sorry. Good. There, is that it? Is that it? Is this it for you? Hold on, let me try again. There we go. Okay. Oh,
I got you.
do you have me? So what do you want me to do? How do you-
On you.
Let me see.
On you.
I got it. I got it.
You just went forward.
I got it. Yep.
Go back.
Wait.
Wait for it.
There we go. All right. There we are. Okay. So this entry here, this slide has shown up every year since we started the priorities and since we presented them in this way to the board. Oh my goodness, it was probably in 1920, 2021 that we started this process. Just this idea of continuous improvement is important. Taking a look at how we allocate resources, but also how we collaborate as professionals to ensure that folks have the ability, the setting, which will call a lot to improve and to continuously improve, and of course the resources to do that as well. So when we look at our priority areas, these haven't changed. So looking back 24-25, we had our teaching and learning priorities. There was 3 of those. We had student safety and wellness, or 2 of those, and then we had our organizational strength. And within those, as I'll show soon, is like what we identified as those priorities specifically within those areas, and then how we achieved them. So looking at the retrospective, as we move on, the first priority, the first step that we went through was identifying some of those priority areas of focus. What were those areas that we really wanted to focus on? I think this was really born out of the board asking us to take a look at some of our areas of challenge and really challenging us to highlight those. Of course, listed mathematics first. That was a big one. I think I left that because that has really been a focus, and we know that that's a statewide issue. We know it's a national issue, and furthermore, it's a world issue. How we create this gap of learning, or how we close this gap of learning for students in mathematics. Literacy also is a foundational skill for our youngest learners in general, but really bolstering that support for our earliest learners is important. And of course, wanting students to feel safe, connected, and comfortable while at school. So looking at priority 1, again, we're looking retrospectively. So looking back at the 24-25 year, you'll see on the left side, it'll be the strategic actions. What were we going to do? What were those actions that we were going to do to achieve our priority? And our priority was achievement in English language arts, again, focusing again on literacy, but also just general student outcomes in the area of English language arts. So leveraging principal collaboration time, initiating a committee to identify resources and support in reading and literacy instruction, also in grading, as you heard, through the Learner Center Collaborative, maintaining aligned elementary bell schedules. And why that's so important, that was a difference over the last couple of years, but why that's important is it allows that setting. It allows a common time and a common place for adults to collaborate. It also allows for allocation of resources. regular assessments, including common formative assessments, and then refocusing and sort of really this interplay between intervention and providing that student with personalized experience. Like, how can we make sure we're meeting students where they're at? So looking at 24-25, we strengthened our ELA strategies through collaboration across TK8. We sustained strong ELA outcomes through targeted supports of all of our subgroups. We had this unified elementary bell schedule, again, meeting those needs, and we were able to provide that specific time for writing and reading instruction, regular benchmark assessments, and then establishing and really evolving that win time and pod time at the middle school. So we'll use that interchangeably. It's win time at the middle school and it's pod time. I'm sorry, win time at elementary and pod time at middle school. So then moving on against our priority, this was one of our focus areas here, was improving student achievement or student outcomes in mathematics across TK through 8. And want to look at, I'm going to just sort of go to the right. I mean, there's feel free obviously to sort of peruse the 1 through 8. Although I will highlight a couple things. TCT time. And so that's number 3 there on the strategic actions. And that was strengthening TCT time throughout the district. Wanting to provide that time and place, again, that setting for teachers to collaborate related to math instruction. Using of common formative assessments, the one down, STAR and IABs to help guide instruction and to inform instruction, right? So we could take a look at how students are performing on a daily basis. And I think really important is number 5, which is ensuring that 60 minutes a day of math instruction for our students. So if we go to the right, we expanded teacher collaboration time by 20 hours annually to strengthen that math instruction and really to strengthen that collaboration among the teacher professionals. We held 2 professional development days for TK5. A lot of that was focused on the new adoption, right? We had a Eureka Squared adoption, so we needed to focus on that. We developed grade level essential standards, pacing guides, and aligned learning targets across our TK through 5. And we implemented daily 60-minute math blocks, again, doing what we said we were going to do. And so that part of it is taking those strategic actions and showing that we accomplish those things. Achieve strong student outcomes in grades 2 and 3 with 67% scoring at or above proficiency in STAR math. And then we built vertical alignment and common formative assessments through that TCT process. So being able to have teachers with the time and place and release days to plan. And then priority 3 is science. And one of the highlights of our science initiative or our science priority was the building of robots. And we embarked on that 2 years ago, not last school year, but the year before that, is ensuring that every student was able to have that hands-on learning experience of building a robot. We also introduced a new digital arts elective for 6th grade that emphasized coding. Elementary tech labs, as I shared, helped with students in our TK to 5 to build robots and to code robots. The Weismer Middle School teachers participated in STEM scopes. That's the curriculum at the middle school, and then implementing IAB. So flipping over to the other side, we did expand our STEAM programming to really promote innovation and hands-on learning. And a lot of that was increasing, as you saw there, the coding opportunities at the middle school, as well as our robotics opportunities in our elementary school. The digital arts coding course for 6th grade at the middle school introduced foundational computer science skills. And why that was important is because we know that the language of coding is it's a language, and it's a new language, or an evolving language, I should say, that's really becoming a foundational skill. And yes, ChatGPT can code for you, but just the idea that students are engaging in this high-level thinking, this critical thinking, is important. We enhance elementary tech labs as STEAM labs at all of our elementary schools. So when you walk in, and there's still more work to be done there. So when I say these things, I just want to preface it by saying it doesn't stop here. We obviously do have some work to do. We have some building funds that we're going to have to use to help supplement some of this, but we did start making those transitions to STEAM labs. Expanded across to coding and robotics at the elementary level because, we saw kids building and just building those computational skills just through coding. Again, district goal for a 2nd consecutive year of all elementary students successfully building a robot. Better than we could. Priority 4 was ensuring school site safety. and wanting, so you had the site safety piece of it, but then you also have this idea of building that connection on campus, bolstering a safe and nurturing environment for students. And so it really is built into those two areas. So this particular priority is bifurcated as such. You have the site safety, and then obviously you have your like more connectedness, student wellness. And we call this priority itself student safety and wellness, or student wellness and safety. I keep messing that up. I put it wrong on here. It's really student wellness and safety, so I'll take that mistake. But every year our schools submit their comprehensive safe school plans by March 1st of every year. And that does have two components. It has the two components that we described in this priority. It has they have to set goals with their site council on just overall site safety. You know, what are some trends that you saw the previous year in terms of site safety? Maybe it's graffiti in bathrooms, maybe it's tripping hazards, maybe it's too much trash, just simple things to help make the site more safe and more, I guess, enjoyable overall. And then the other side is, how do students feel connected? What is the students' sort of interpersonal, what are the interpersonal relationships looking like? Does every student on campus have a trusting adult? And so when you look to the right, you see how we reached that this year. All schools did submit their comprehensive safe school plans. 100% of our staff completed ALICE emergency training with ongoing tracking and onboarding for new hires. Now, I do want to point out that there's still work to do here. I think there's still some discomfort with, obviously, as the more and more we hear about active shooters or these types of dynamic and violent situations, in schools or in churches or in public spaces, obviously it does challenge us to take a look at this and be better. But we do have cameras and PA systems that were installed district-wide with continued expansion of alarm upgrades too, because what we found was we had like 5 different alarm systems. So we still have some work to do to systematize that a little bit, but the new cameras and new PA systems and new clocks have made a big difference in our overall safety of the site. We regular coordination with our partners at Hawthorne PD, trying to reestablish our connections with the sheriff department as well, CHP, Neighborhood Watch, et cetera. So Rebecca, you had a question?
Yeah, should like capturing kids' hearts be on this?
That's on the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the very next priority. It's the same priority, but we just needed 2
Okay.
slides.
All right, okay.
Is that what you meant? Is that
Yeah,
what?
yeah, that's,
absolutely.
I was like, cause it fits in the priority, I just didn't see it
Absolutely.
there, okay.
Yeah, so
all right.
this is just mainly the physical safety side of it.
Okay.
How do we just ensure just safety in general? Emergency kits being replaced district-wide. We actually are almost done with that. Which is obviously a good thing to do. And then you have your student wellness side of it. And so in your student wellness side of it, you have your capturing kids' hearts, you have your counseling protocols, you have your attendance intervention. You know, when we notice students aren't coming to school, how do we intervene to make sure that they are coming to school, or at least we know why and we're able to support them in that. Looking at our DEI framework for policy, staff training in that regard, and then certainly looking at student behavior and, how is student behavior impacting the culture, et cetera, because we know that will happen. And it's how do we respond? So we did launch Capturing Kids' Hearts district-wide to improve classroom culture and relationships. Again, that was year 1. There's going to be challenges with big rollouts like this, but definitely want to give Dr. Ingram a hats off for helping lead this program for us. Expanded our counseling support, tradition to new electronic health record system. That means that allows us to electronically track when we interact with a student, when we actually counsel a student. It's like a medical record in a sense, so that it can be picked up by various counseling professionals that can follow students throughout their time in Wiseburn. Implementing proactive attendance plans and flexible instructional recovery options. We're seeing the LROP program evolve this year to help bolster ADA. Hopefully it'll be more established this year. Establish a district-wide DEI statement and monthly student inclusion lessons that were led by the counselors, and increased behavior documentation that did reduce suspension rates this year, which is good. And then priority 5, which is ensuring the district continues to demonstrate organizational strength. And we did reorganize leadership team this year with 3 executive directors and a deputy superintendent. Improving internal communications through new meeting protocols was important, and continuing collaborative meetings to support our teachers and our CSEA partners. Enhance employee retention with recognition programs, professional growth opportunities, professional learning opportunities, and then strengthening position control. As Sean shared, actually, sorry, he didn't share with you all, but we were talking earlier about some of the challenges that we have position control and how we could just continue to improve there. So we did launch our district-wide assessment PD, resulting in shared Wiseburn assessment vision, site-based design team leadership. We held our first ever Wiseburn mini conference, which had 84% of our teachers reporting positive impact on professional development. This was a big push for us. Maggie really led that charge this year. And then again, reorganized our district leadership meetings, and how we make decisions across our district and departments.
Like that 84% seems remarkably high. Do we have context for that in the past?
You wanna
Because
share
it's something
that?
we've done, never done before.
It was just the feedback that was provided at the end of that conference. And so out of the people that were surveyed, and I'm sorry, I just don't know off the cuff how many responded to it. That was the number that we received. That
Seems like a
was one of the questions. Yeah.
It was just a post
Yeah.
attendance
Post,
survey.
yeah.
Yeah. And then looking at, so I'm sorry, I should have stated that was human resources, meant to point that out. But then you move into the business services. Really, we are talking here about our cost center management. How are we managing our budgets, not just at the district level, which you just saw here with Sean, but also how are we empowering our department leads, our principals to also manage their budget. AIS, our absenteeism and monitoring that is very important. Of course, that translates to ADA. Also, how do we implement our one-time funds to better support our general fund? Again, these are the things that Sean really highlighted today and showed a positive balance at the end of the year and definitely some gains. Our fund balance benefited from that. District-wide cleaning evaluation, this was huge, so that we could then reallocate custodial support or add custodial support as needed. And we also had our communications platform, which had our newsletter. That'll be even emerging this year, but certainly we saw an uptick in social media and our social media presence and our comments. We did provide ongoing budget training and support for our site leaders. We aligned our attendance practices with the help of a consultant, obviously under the leadership of Dr. Ingram. We also staff and tracked positions for Prop 28. That's our arts funding. It's ongoing funding, and we wanted to make sure we were doing that appropriately. Increased newsletter open rates by 8%, and we also had social media impressions by 375%. One thing that you would notice this year is there was a lot of interaction with social media this year, a lot of professionalism behind it. Some of the reels and stories that were posted, very professional. And literally almost every comment that is made, not, if you do yay, thumbs up, you're not going to get a comment back. But if there's questions or comments, the team is responding to those. And so that's quite a task. But my hat's off to Erica and Maria, who help us manage that as well. Tech upgrades happened across the district. We saw one translated into this year, but we saw the increase of our Chromebooks, teacher laptops, et cetera. And again, we began the cleaning evaluation and did add custodial staff to support some of our sites, including the middle school. We launched new school websites, improving usability, design, and access. That was a huge undertaking that we probably rolled out over 2 years, and then we're able to launch that as well. And so it went from the district to the school. So that's what you saw. This is sort of the evolution over to the schools. Any questions? Oh, a lot. I know it's a lot. Should I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So looking ahead, there's a bit of a difference here. One of the things that we're constantly challenged with is wanting to make sure that there weren't so many competing resources. And so you have your LCAP and you have your site plans and you have your SIPSAS, the whole thing. And so we wanted to make sure that as we identify goals, that A, we have measurable goals, and B, that it's aligned to the LCAP so that we're able to track that. So what you'll see this year is you'll see it organized a little bit differently. And it's really focusing on student outcome-based evaluation. We want to see how students are performing and what the numbers or metrics say as it relates to student performance or employee performance, but that there's a metric. Because, there's a book that we just started reading, Great on Their Behalf, which is really how governance teams or how district leadership teams can help support student outcomes. But you have to know what student outcomes you want to see first. So you'll see that. So looking at teaching and learning, we have literacy as one of our priorities still, making sure that students are meeting or exceeding grade level expectations related to that. And here are some metrics. Again, these are in your files or in your documents. But we wanted to see 66% CAS proficiency. Again, this is tied to the LCAP, so you can find all of these metrics there. 37% for our EL students. Again, these may seem low in some cases, but the reality is we're trying to just continually improve. It's not, we hope to get to 100%, but we know it's not realistic to do that. We want well-developed on the LPAC. That is a designation on the LPAC to be 37%. We have our brand new iReady assessment implementation. Again, thanks to Maggie for rolling that out for us. Implementing 3 times per year iReady diagnostics to really begin giving us some predictive data so we know how students may perform at the end of the year. So that's that. So then you can see there's beginning of year, middle of the year. And Maggie, where are we at? We're just finishing. You're starting to get data now for the first diagnostic.
We're just starting the diagnostic data. The window closes next Friday, but I mean, shout out to our teachers who are just all on and starting that process. So bravo
This is based
to
on.
them. Yeah, they're doing awesome.
And this replaces STAR
It does.
assessments, right?
And what we hope to see, and we'll explain this in greater detail when we actually get presentations on iReady data, but we want to see band growth is what's measured. So we do want to see 10% band growth in tier 1 and 10% decrease in tier 3. So you have your highest band, you want to see increase, and your lowest band to decrease, basically, as students move up. And how do we do that? A lot of the same tactics and the same systems that we've done in the past, utilizing teacher collaboration time, our guiding coalitions, the CAPS network. Tomorrow is one of those dates. That's to support our PLC program, our PLC process. Again, focusing on the 4 essential questions. Multi-tier systems of support. That's going to be a big focus for us over the next couple of years, is how are we intervening for students that need that support. Conducting iReady diagnostics 3 times a year. We talked about that. Establishing district-wide alignment on tier 1 reading instruction. Focus on the science of reading. We have that as a North Star for us. Expanding win time and pod time, and wanting to really identify what we're doing during those times to make sure that we're maximizing it. And conducting at least 4 instructional leadership learning walks. And that's when instructional leaders, when principals, coaches, district administrators walk around, we get to see some of these things happening in practice. And again, that's led by our Ed Services team.
I'd like a quick question
Sure.
on the formative assessments that have been in development or getting increasingly utilized. Is there a process where we evaluate if in fact the assessments are working for us?
So are you speaking to the common formative assessments that our teachers design?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the correlation to iReady and CASP, and are we all working together and are we learning along the way?
Definitely our teams are. I mean, one thing at the CAPS network is like this year, our focus is on MTSS. So last year, our big focus was on question number 1, which was what do we want our kids to know? Those were our essentials. And now we're digging deep, especially in mathematics with the support of Holly Compton. How do we know they know it? And so we are working on those common formative assessments. I know this is something that the middle school has been doing for years, and how they're structured as a team. And so we're using some of what they have done and bringing it down. And then those are refined through what we find. Can we do better on this assessment? We asked kids a question differently, like how can we help them to support that? So those are going to be like the ever-changing information that we in this room won't know. I mean, those are for our teachers to drive what they're to do tomorrow based on that. And so, yes, we're in the process of it.
And so then looking at mathematics again as a focus area, priority area, wanting students to meet or exceed grade level expectations in mathematics. Some of our metrics, we want 55% of all students to be proficient in mathematics by the end of the year. We are going to also implement the 3 times a year iReady diagnostic, again, for that predictive measure. And then looking at iReady band growth. So we're looking at those same metrics as we did for ELA, for mathematics as well. And again, a lot of the same things, but you're going to see an expansion of that TCT time to 20 hours in math, So a little bit more time for teacher collaboration. But all of the other things still remain, our PLCs, addressing those 4 questions, and making sure that we are, that we're looking at students where they are and what they need. Again, the 4 questions, implementing multiple interim assessment blocks for grades 3 through 8. The iReady diagnostic is going to be really important, the 3 of them. Implementation of Eureka Squared with the support of our math TOSA, our math specialists, strengthening win time. So a lot of these over our priorities 1 and priority 2 are going to be, they're going to be consistent, right? We're going to increase math instruction, or we're going to increase student outcomes in math and English, doing some of the same things. And then the bottom, just want to highlight that we are lucky to have Holly Compton, so that math specialist will help lead those professional development, will also help facilitate vertical articulation across our grade levels, so that we're talking math across grade levels. And then looking at science, building those STEM skills, just a couple of metrics here, 50% proficiency in the CAST, that's a California Assessment Science. And then the metric, which is a non-LCAP goal, but we want to keep this as a local goal, and that is maintaining 100% of our robot builds in our TK to 5. I mean, we just want to keep that practice going where students are engaging with robots, as you see there to the right.
What is their current percentage? What is their current percentage, Blake, on the CAST?
Do you have that?
Because
on
this
you?
says increase to 50% on,
I can grab that for you in a minute.
okay.
Sorry about that. It's in the, I think it's the 30s.
I do believe it's on the lower I'm gonna look on the dashboard because that would be where it tells us. But just so you know, right now, if you notice in the dashboard, what we presented is it's purple because it's not like kind of being used. It was the first year that we had this data that we're publicly sharing it. So we are noticing it's a conversation with my peers in ed services that it's low statewide than the other subject areas. So.
Right, because
I'm
on
gonna
the
look
math, I see we're going from 49 to 55, and then the ELA 63 to 66.
Yeah.
So obviously those are higher percentages already, but at 50%, I was curious as to what is the expected difference?
Yeah. And I mean, part of the trick with science as well is that they're only tested to, like, all the math in the ELA test happens every year from 3rd grade on. But when you're in the sciences, only happens in 5th grade and 8th grade. So it is a little bit of a different dynamic, involved, but we'll get that number for you. And then, so the strategic actions is really focusing on those NGSS standards, focusing on identifying essential standards, particularly in grades 5 through 8. And it's utilizing those tech labs, the STEAM labs, building those robots, and then use those IEBs, the interim assessment blocks, to help prepare students for that end of year assessment. And then use district meetings to enhance cross-grade science articulation, use that TCT time, and other professional learning opportunities to do that.
Is there an iReady comparable for science?
No, they don't offer the science component yet. The only one that I'm aware of is NWEA, but it does have its challenges because it's very focused on teaching science in some different methods than we do. Yeah.
So it's not applicable.
It's not a great database to use. Why we are going to rely on the IEBs more for that.
Wherever we can get anything predictive
Exactly.
is desired.
Right, exactly. And our teachers at the middle school, I know, have been using it in 5th grade for some time.
And then looking at student safety or student wellness and safety, again, it's broken into those 2 parts. So you'll have your first part, which is looking at site safety. So we want to, the district crisis communications team, we are going to hold ourselves to having 3 meetings annually with at least one full scale tabletop exercise. So we want to actually, in the event that there's a threat at night at 11 p.m. or at midnight, that we're well versed in being able to address that. And we have all of those steps practiced and drilled. And we realize that was a gray area for us. We all kind of know what to do, but we didn't drill it together. So we want to make sure that we're doing a little more drilling on some of these crisis that could come about. Perception of a clean and maintained campus. This is LCAP goal 1.5. Grade 5 students, we want it to be greater than 85%, greater than or equal to 85% of them say the school is clean.
Grades 6 through 8, we want greater than 50%. You know, it's ironic, the difference. I'll tell you, I mean, you see it across the board, what middle school kids say versus what our elementary kids say. So we're just going off the real numbers. I mean, this is just kind of what it is.
50% plus of our middle school kids to be clear.
Yeah, right. And then we want greater or equal than 90% of our teachers and staff to say that it is clean and well maintained, that our campuses are such. And then looking at the other side of it, which is more of the student wellness piece, we want, again, metric 2.2 here, teacher collaboration. 90% of teachers agree that adults collaborate regularly. We want it to be greater than 90%. Metric 4.1 is the suspension rate. We want to maintain the green status in the dashboard. Metric 4.2, site-based social emotional services. We want grade 5 students that say adults care to be greater than or equal to 90%. Like, again, as we talked about earlier, knowing that there's a connection with an adult on campus is critical. Critical in the elementary grades and just as critical in the middle school. And unfortunately, the numbers are less, but we do want to see greater than 70% there as well. And then we want teachers to see that. We want teachers to be at a greater than 95% believe that there's adult connections on campus, that they care for students. And capturing kids' hearts implementation, there's 3.7 average implementation on a score of 1 to 5. So this year it was 2.7. Is that about right? 2.3, sorry. Lower. So we had a 2.3 average this year. We'd like to see that go up to a 3.7. And that just has to do with comfort and another year, right? Just having that experience. And metric 4.3, respect and inclusion, it's that students say that teachers respect them at greater than 90%. So they will say that teachers and other grown-ups treat the students with respect. Moving down to metric 4.7, chronic absenteeism for all students would be less than 9%. And 5.6, enrollment support. We have 2,578 projected students. That's our goal. We are below that right now. So I will say we're right now at 41. Okay. So we still have some room to grow. And I know the enrollment office is working on trying to fill more seats. And it's just where we're at. So we're a little bit below that, but we're not below the middle school's dropout rate. There's no dropouts yet. We're still at 0%. On day 12. On day 12. And just some of I'll just highlight a few of these items here. The crisis communications team I talked about, Atlas training, which has been a staple here. Looking at non-crisis, the non-violent crisis intervention or NCI training for staff. And then making sure that we're still engaging with that comprehensive safe school plan, not wanting to make that just a perfunctory document that you have to do, but really taking stock on those goals. Capturing kids' hearts district-wide is important. Strengthening the school counseling program, looking at triage and case management, making sure those systems are clear and clean. We definitely want to improve attendance and chronic absenteeism. It's part of the LROP program. It's also part of how we respond when students are absent. How are we making contact with those families? Strengthening positive behavior systems. You know, in schools, discipline is really hard. Student behavior management is just hard, and wanting to make sure that we're all aligned, at least to the best that we can, in terms of what are major behaviors, what are consequences, how do we still promote restorative practices and positive behavior support across our campuses. And then, of course, wanting to strengthen enrollment systems by hosting monthly tours. We start those in December. And it was really a nice addition. We did some upgrades this year to the tour. So please, if we'll send out dates if you ever want to come check out one of our enrollment tours. And then the last one, and I'll kind of breeze through this one. Organizational strength, usually in the areas of HR and business services. We want to have staff perception of support at a score of 4.0 on the annual 4.0 plus on the annual staff survey. And with that being said, we are a meeting behind. We will present to the board the raw data behind the staff survey that we took. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it in August, but we'll bring that to the board at the next meeting as well. Internal communication, we want an average score of 3.5 plus on the annual staff survey. And we want chronic absenteeism again to be less than 9%. Enrollment to ADA, 95.5%. That's increase of 0.5. Hey, we're taking it little by little, but using the LROP program to help us see those gains.
Are we asking families to opt into the LROP program again? Because I think, we sent it out before and I just wasn't sure.
Yes, so this year it's in the registration packet, which
Okay.
formerly known as the first day packet. So every single family was able to opt into LROP with their beginning of the year paperwork. I will let you know.
Okay, and then looking at some of the. This is me, huh? Is that me? I'm hitting something here. No, sorry. I got it, Tony. Let me just work through this. You're not touching it? All right. So we do want to see a balanced budget. I know that was really important. We want a balanced or better budget. And I know we saw that here. We are looking at a deficit in the current year, so we'll have to address that at first interim and second interim, and hoping that with some of the strategies that we used at the end of last year, we'll be able to actually materialize those that balanced budget as we move forward. I want to build those reserves, 3.5% of total expenditures. You saw we're better than that right now, but we want to continue to be better.
So deficit spending is that we ended the year last year plus.
Correct. Correct.
Roughly near that number.
Correct.
So this is after that?
That's
or we have
current
not
year.
adjusted?
This is current year. That last year was
That would have
last
been
year.
forward balance,
Correct.
got it.
And then really looking at a reduction of 25% of our special education staffing, like being able to hire our folks and hoping to have less contracted services. Looking at human resources, we want to enhance our internal communication and collaboration. New meeting structure, we want to look at a new newsletter to get information out to our staff, teachers and staff. We want to continue to expand employee recognitions, the welcome back barbecue, employee of the year programming, which has been, we've actually had 2 teachers in the top 16 over the last 3 years, which is awesome. And provide that ongoing professional learning opportunity and professional growth opportunities for employees to build the retention, including onboarding, recruitment, and that's all under the direction of Dr. Duval. And then in business services, it's all about education, right? It's all about making sure that we're streamlining our processes, that our principals are aware of budgets, that our department leads are aware of the budgets, that we're utilizing our restricted resources. As Sean shared today, that a lot of the savings that we realized had to do with us using those restricted resources to help support our general fund, using our RDA fund, boosting our ADA, and really looking at HR and business services at the yin and yang, if you will, to make sure that our position control is balanced and well attended to. I will end with that. That was a lot of information.
I forgot to ask a question when you were in the ELA thing, which was that I know from back to school night that we moved away from accelerated reader. And so I'm curious about the science of learning, science of reading implementation and moving away from that and how we're supporting. I heard from at least a couple of teachers while I was attending the presentations as a parent that there was some uncertainty about what they were supposed to do and how they were going to be evaluating students and their reading and things like that, not just with the implementation of iReady, but with the move away from accelerated readers. So can you just share a little bit about what that plan is for?
Sure. So those are two, I can answer the getting reading right question through like the training of the science of reading, but AR was removed to help facilitate and fund iReady because it's a pretty expensive program. That being said, AR was being used to monitor independent reading, which is a whole other aspect. And so what we worked on this year is, I call it time in the sandbox for teachers to develop a way for them to help, and resolve, do we need a district initiative to monitor independent reading? Or is that something that could be done at the site and the classroom level? And so right now, I mean, we're hearing from different teacher teams, like I was in the whole sixth grade pod when they were presenting what their goals are. And it's different than what that is as seventh grade to find the best system for that team to work on. So that's what they're currently working for.
And I think too, like some conversation we had is like maybe like, not that we don't do it, but revisiting core novels and how we're using core novels in the classroom. You know, we did actually I reached out to several colleagues on the same topic. Just because I felt it was important to do that and really looking at core novels as a way to help teach. Because what do you want? You want kids to read and comprehend, right? It's not just about reading the pages. And, you know, frankly, we want kids to comprehend, not just, you know, Johnny was wearing a blue suit, right? We want them to be able to interpret. We want them to be able to critically think based on what they're reading. So, you know, what tools are best to do that? And I'm going to say, you know, this is going to be a bit bumpy to figure that out. I mean, I'll just, you know, again, using that whole dynamic of construction, and this is one of those areas that's under construction for us in teaching and learning, is how do we build confidence in other ways of, you know, sort of promoting that reading and also making sure that students are comprehending what they're reading. So it's a work in progress for sure. Still more to be determined.
Thank you.
I'd like to, well, one, thank you for the presentation on the district priorities, but also thank our entire team and staff and parents and members that form a part of the LCAP. Because for those that may be listening online, you clearly see the district priorities for this year are directly derived from those goals set in the LCAP. So it really does drive what we're going to do here for the district and our instruction for the following year once that LCAP is set. So thank you, everyone that participated and for taking that LCAP seriously, because then everything moves accordingly. So I really appreciate everyone's input and time spent on the LCAP. Thank you.
And then one more comment, just a compliment to you, Blake, and the team, that this is really an evolution. It's a paradigm shift. It is a process shift, moving to more personalization, more collaboration, more focus on student outcomes. Metrics are really new to us in the big picture, other than CASP and some of the standard things. I think that is phenomenal that we're moving in this direction. PLC is one of those processes we started a couple of years back that's in the same ilk. And this idea of using data to improve student outcomes, having goals that we're all shooting for, collaborating, working together for individualization, that's a win. Well done. Thank you.
And, you know, my hat's off to the team, helped me through this, obviously. I mean, I think, you know, Maggie, with new perspective, and Kim, in her new role, really being able to bring us, you know, to identify LCAP goals that were going to be meaningful and appropriate. And Nisha and Sean, I mean, all of us, you know, together really were able to identify those LCAP goals that were most important, because there's 75, 77 something goals now. You can't run, you know, it's impossible, right? So we wanted to really pull out those ones. So thank you. Appreciate you noticing.
I just wanted to echo both Roger and Neil's comments. I think that was, you summarized it well. I think, Blake, you gave an excellent presentation. That was very smooth. And I think but behind those, that's a lot of work that goes behind it. And that's a compliment to you and the entire team here. I think there's a lot of work behind those priorities and goals. And I'm glad to see that those have all been identified. And I think that it's clear now, and we're all working together towards those goals. So it's great to see that work evolve, like Neil said. But it's a lot of work behind those slides. So thank you, everybody, for all the work.
All right, thank you.
Thank
you, Blake. Okay, we are going to move on to section 7 of our agenda, and that is 7.1 for board member reports. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Michelle.
I'm gonna keep it short. I just want to thank, it's always really difficult starting a new year, a new school year, and we all know the work that goes into that for everybody. I know, Sean, you haven't stopped, so hopefully this is the time where you get to kind of take a breath, I'm hoping. But as far as teachers and staff at each site, the amount of work that went into those back to school nights. I got to attend Del Aire's, and just, again, the amount of attention and pride that each one of those classrooms and teachers put into it, and staff. And so I just want to acknowledge that wonderful start to the school year. I know we're only a few days in, but I look forward to seeing more of that But thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. We'll go to Nelson.
Thank you, Roger. Also, just echo Michelle's comments. I had an opportunity to attend the Wiseburn Middle School back to school night. It was not only standing room, but it was flowing outside. So well attended, great turnout. I also had an opportunity to see the work that took place at the multipurpose room. So great. Kudos to the facilities team and enhancing that multipurpose room. It's a beautiful job. Also, the classrooms look great. So a compliment to everybody, and like Michelle said, to the teachers. I mean, it really takes a village to really have the kind of start of school that we've had, very successful. So thank you all for the work. And just one last thing, as many of you know, it's been a difficult time for me and my family. But I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to my colleagues, thank you to the district, thank you to the Wiseburn Ed Foundation, Da Vinci, really the Wiseburn family and the community for all the love and support that we've reached. So thank you very much. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Nelson. We'll go to Michelle. Rebecca.
For me.
Again.
You can get to go again.
I'm picking off right where I left off the last board meeting. At least I'm
Hear what I have to
consistent, I gotta say.
Thanks, Nelson, I mean Roger.
It's okay, Neil called Nelson Roger a minute ago.
You know, and echo the welcome back to everyone. I also got to attend back to school night at Aviation and Wiseburn Middle School, and man, the preparation and enthusiasm going through an entire school day with the middle schoolers is like insane. In that short amount of time, I was exhausted. I have to say, I can't even imagine the teachers doing that 5 times or whatever that they did during the evening. So thank you to all of them for all the preparation. And at Aviation, the classrooms look great. All of those things were fantastic. And thank you also to all of the PTAs, PTSA members, WEF members who came and presented and supported, reminded our families what their funds support. Because we can't do all of these things. You see what we have in the budget here, and there's all of these other wonderful things that we offer to our families that are really provided by those organizations. So thank you to all of them for doing that, and I'm hoping that it's an amazing year. And then, because it wouldn't be a presentation from me without something coming up. So September 17th is Constitution Day. And as a lawyer, it makes me really happy to do that. I'm excited. Actually, I'm going to be going into Mrs. Bennett's classroom at Aviation and doing a Constitution in the classroom lesson on the rule of law, which is one of the foundations of our democracy, but it can be a little bit of a difficult concept to understand. So to paraphrase a certain famous science fiction film, the rule of law is like a force that binds us all together. It's our collective agreement as a society. We agree to obey the law and expect that the law will treat us fairly in return. Similarly, we expect in a democracy that those laws will be created by people that we elect and will be designed to benefit everyone, not just those in power. And I think we have an opportunity and an obligation to help our students understand that those are our rules and obligations as citizens of this great country. And looking forward to things that are coming up in the next couple of months, where we'll also have a chance to reaffirm that we think that, you know, we should all be able to choose our elected officials and who those might be. So just wanted to remind everyone and celebrate that, you know, the Constitution and what it means to all of us. And next week is Constitution Day. So that's it.
Excellent. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
So go to Neil.
I'll be Neil now.
Yes, you
Good deal, good deal. Welcome back, everybody. And thank you. I know, Michelle, you commented on Sean coming, but everybody has been working and busting their behinds, and thank you, and thank you, and thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you. Thank you to WFA and our representatives being here with us. It's a big commitment and just a long meeting to be here, so thank you very much. Appreciate you guys as well. I was able to attend the teachers and staff welcome back barbecue. That was a really fun day, very enthusiastic. Wendy took care of everybody that day. Thank you very much. But just the enthusiasm of everybody coming back was really just an inspiring experience, and thank you. And the same thing with back to school nights. I got to attend Aviation and Del Air, and a run around the same night kind of thing. Just excited to see the path we're on. One last thing, working with Maggie and Anisha and Blake and Joel on the dashboard, which is evidently going to be presented, I think, in an upcoming meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one.
October.
Okay, but that is taking all the data, all the metrics that have been presented in the district priorities and giving us a visual update and progress report with comparatives to other districts. They've done a nice job. It's really evolving well. Very excited to see that happening. And just compliments all around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Like Neil said, welcome back, everyone. It's exciting. I know you've all been hard at work already. This is our first board meeting of the new year, but I did want to express my appreciation for all the hard work that is so evident that we see today with all the different presentations. I know sometimes our board meetings can be long. However, there's just such a great amount of information and wonderful things that are happening with our district. And that is part of the thing we'd like to do, is communicate what is happening in our district with our families, our parents, and with ourselves, so that we're also very well coordinated. So thank you, and I really truly look forward to a fantastic school year for 25-26. The way I look at it, it's another great opportunity to have an impact on our kids. And these are our kids, whether they be your son, your daughter, your grandkids, your cousins. I mean, they're all members of our community. And whether you're on permit or not, once you're here, you're our child. And that's something that we really take to heart at Wiseburn. Once you walk through those doors and you're admitted to our district, we treat all of our students exactly the same way, and we want to see everyone succeed. So thank you for all the hard work and effort, and the hard work and effort that's to come as well. Very much appreciated. So I did have an opportunity to attend the Wiseburn Middle School back to school night, and wow. It was standing room only, as Nelson mentioned, and it's also very nice to see. There's a very positive energy, but yet a little bit of anxiety from students and parents that are possibly joining us in the district maybe for the first time. And for those that have been here already, it's still a transition to middle school potentially for 6th grade. So it's really nice to see, and the facilities look fantastic. So I want to say thank you to all of our grounds crew, our maintenance, custodial services, and of course, all the construction that happens. So definitely to NAZ Building Advisors, Noemi and Shuri and their team. The schools look fantastic. So that's always nice to see. So thank you for all your energy and effort that went into that as well. Okay. I am looking forward to back to school. I think we have Holly Glenn, I believe, this Thursday, right? At 5 o'clock. So please mark your calendars. Sounds like another great opportunity to visit one of our other school sites. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Blake for district leadership reports. So you let us know.
You can sit there, I think.
Oh, you have a presentation.
You want me to sit down to keep this one a little bit shorter than the previous one? Yeah, it's you want to maybe pull up the narrative portion first? I'll try to keep this short. So what I'll be presenting in my leadership report is basically just a budget update. So when we take our estimated actuals and adopted budget to the board in June, we have kind of the state obviously adopting their budget after the fact, after we already take ours to the board for approval. And so we had some pretty significant changes as a result of this recent budget adoption. So there's kind of two parts to this. I'll just briefly go over just this narrative, but it kind of highlights basically some of the favorable outcomes as a result of the state budget adoption. So we are an increase in some of our funding sources. So the first one is for universal transitional kindergarten. This state is allocating an additional $1.2 billion to help the district in 25-26 meet that lower adult student ratio of 20 students to 2 adults, so 1 teacher and 1 instructional aide. We have a one-time block grant, the Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant. They allocated roughly $1.7 billion And the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, the state allocated $378.6 million. That was a partial restoration of that program. And then lastly, the state allocated a total of $510 million for literacy, professional development, reading, literacy specialist partnerships, networks, et cetera. So Tony, if you can just scroll down to the next page in that one. And so the actual fiscal impact this will have for the district. So we will see an increase of roughly $400,000 for our TK add-on, and that you see in the LCFF funding formula. The student support, professional development, discretionary block grant allocates roughly $753,000 to the district, and you'll see that in our increase in our state revenues. The Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant allocated about $274,000. Again, another increase to our state revenues. And then the literacy investments, we don't have kind of a hard or concrete figure, kind of compared to the student support and the learning recovery, but we've kind of estimated about $50,000 in increase to our state revenues for that program. And so the next, Tony, do you mind pulling up the next portion of that? So I
Just for clarification, like, these are one time? Or
Yes. The TK add-on and our LCFF funding formula, that's an ongoing increase.
Okay.
But the three other funding sources for state revenues are all one time. That's correct.
Thank you.
And this
So-
is not incorporated in that budget, so this is.
Exactly. So these are all additions to the budget. And so I kind of tried to highlight and this is just taking a comparison of the adopted budget and just kind of incorporating or infusing these revenue sources and then an allocation of the expenditures. So this is kind of a multi-year projection for the unrestricted general fund. So you'll see 25, 26, 26, 27, and 27, 28. And so that top line, you can see that LCFF, that additional TK add-on that translates into additional revenue each year. So that one's ongoing. So that's the 400,000 you see there. And so on the expenditure side, what we've done on the unrestricted side is similar to what we did with the AMM one-time grant. If you can recall that one, arts, music, instructional materials, we allocated roughly $400,000 of that grant in 25, 26 to help kind of offset some of our operating costs for health and welfare on the unrestricted side in 25, 26. So we're kind of doing a similar exercise with that professional development student support block grant. We're taking about $400,000 out of that allocation, and we're utilizing that to offset some of our health and welfare benefit cost in 26, 27. And then for the student support professional development block grant, again, we utilize the remaining portion of our LREBG block grant for that large Chromebook purchase. So we still had some expenditures allocated out in 25, 26 and 26, 27 that we were charging to that LREBG program. One of the big ones was capturing kids' hearts. And so what we're doing is in the adopted budget, we had to move those expenditures over to the unrestricted side because we had utilized all of that LREBG remaining funding. And so what we're doing is we're basically taking those expenditures and we're reallocating those to that student support professional development block grant, similar to how we had it previously with the LREBG grant. And so you can see on the unrestricted side, the impact that it's having on kind of our net surplus / deficit. So you can see when we kind of project these infusions of the one-time dollars and the TK dollars, it's decreasing. It's having a positive impact on our deficits that we're projecting. And then you can see in fiscal year 27, 28, we're actually projecting a little bit of a surplus with this infusion. And I just kind of highlighted also the impact that it's also having on our fund balance reserves. And then if you could go to the next page, Tony, thank you. And so the other side of all of these funding sources is on the restricted general fund. Thank you.
the other presentation.
No, it should have been page 2 in
that same document.
that same document.
Got it.
There we go. So this is the restricted side. So when you look at 25, 26, you can see, so we have the one-time funding source for the student support and professional development block grant. That's that $753,000. One-time funds, again, is coming in on the restricted side. But there are restrictions on it, and there are recommended kind of items on the state level that they would like for you to spend it on, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty unrestricted. You can spend it on operating cost. You'll see the addition of the reallocation of the LREBG block grant for the $274,000. And then new information came out about the literacy investments. We're not projected to receive those funds in 25, 26. We're projected to see those funds in 26, 27. And then highlighting on the expenditure side, again, you can see the health and welfare offset. So in 26, 27, we're charging $400,000 of health and welfare costs that would have remained on the unrestricted side. So we're charging those to that block grant to kind of help, again, kind of utilizing our restricted sources to kind of help on the unrestricted.
We don't need to do that in 25, 26.
In 25, 26, we already have that same amount. It's already been incorporated to the budget, but that's for the AMM grant that we've already received the funds for.
Okay.
So that amount it was already factored into the adopted budget.
Does that end in 26, 27, the AMM grant?
We're projected to spend the remaining AMM funds that we have available in 25, 26.
Makes sense.
And then again, those expenditure offsets that we're charging to the student support professional development block grant, the 176,500. When you multiply it by 2 and you add the 400,000, that's that total 753,000. So again, that's us moving some of those unrestricted expenditures to the restricted side. And then when you look at the expenditures for the LREBG, so that 274,000. And you see the expenditures for the literacy investments to 50,000. Those amounts are actually additional expenditures on the restricted side. And those expenditures are in accordance with the presentation that Maggie had given in regards to literacy investments, the ELA coach. And so those funding sources are being utilized for the purposes that were outlined in that presentation. So all in all, it's positive news. It's additional funding. Again, we're using those one-time block grants to really kind of, again, help kind of build our reserves and kind of really help on the unrestricted side of the house again.
Between what, like 2 and 3% unexpected money. That's nice.
Yeah, this is.
Please bring that back every board meeting.
This is one of those meetings that, hey, 2 out of 2. Wow. Yeah.
That's fantastic news. Thank you, Sean.
We may never see Sean again.
And I'm gonna drop the mic.
Hold on that.
And then again, everything else that's kind of happening throughout the course of the year, as I kind of touched on with the unaudited actuals, that plus this will all be incorporated formally at the first interim budget update in December.
Thank you, Sean.
And I promise, like, we actually cut 3 presentations. What we have to do, we have to do. So with no further ado, the best presentation coming up now. Here we go.
Go Kim, go Kim.
Special education.
Looking forward.
Tony, I may ask you to just help move the
I got
slides.
you.
Thanks.
You've heard lots of updates tonight on all the different departments and our overall district initiatives. And my goal tonight, and thank you for having me here today, is to really talk about the special education department specifically and how all of these goals work within the department itself and how we are supporting the initiatives across the district. Next slide. So I wanted to start first with a quick kind of look back for this past school year. Just some highlights we have in terms of staffing. We were able to bring on 5 new education specialists or special education teachers, which was awesome last year. Great additions, in addition to another new occupational therapist. Within the special education office, we had a new program specialist as I moved into the director role, a new SLC futures administrator, and 2 new administrative assistants to the office. So it was an entire redo. And so everyone is starting to come on board. And so that's been really exciting to see. In addition, with our staffing, we did hire last year 13 new instructional aides and 11 RBTs as district employees. So that was a huge gain for us over time. You'll also see what that looks like in reality as we move forward, but that was something that we were really proud. That was an RBT was a new position for our district. We knew that we had to invest in bringing in really talented, highly qualified instructional aides that are really targeted for behavior support. And so we've been fortunate to bring on a lot of new people over time. From a training standpoint, it was really about making sure we were using the resources that we have already dedicated funds to over the years. So 2 programs that we've had, we just brought on Goldbook a few years ago. It's a tool for our special education teachers and specialists to use to gather data on students and some baseline data, develop defensible IEP goals, and be able to provide resources to students. So that's something that we ensured that we were starting to really implement last year. In addition to the training and implementation of the Sonde learning systems, we focused on level 1. This is a reading program that we'll talk about a little bit more for what we're doing this year. It's a program we've had for many years. We haven't, I think when I was principal at Aviation, our special education teachers were utilizing, it's a very structured literacy program and research-based and has a lot of success. I think just with COVID and everything, and new staff coming in, it wasn't being utilized pretty much at any site except for 1 starting last year. So it was really a goal to make sure we knew what we had, get it out the closets, and make sure we're starting to train people. So that was a starting point last year, and then I'll talk a little bit about what it will look like for this year. And then with collaboration, again, these main areas of staffing, training, and collaboration, I wanted to highlight because part of the collaboration we had was working with WFA, with the SPED committee that was developed, comprised of members across the district, special education teachers, as well as gen ed teachers, to come together and really, and this is an old presentation because you can say I didn't finish a sentence, but we came together to really look at what are the issues and the concerns that are happening within special education at each respective site. Very solution focused and coming up with ways that we need to, build and improve. And the areas they really identified were the needs for staffing, continued training, and opportunities for collaboration. So last year, I would say that I think all of our guiding coalitions had special education team members as part of the team. And they really are now working very closely with their grade level colleagues in the PLC process. So that's something that wasn't always happening, where we were having special education teachers really be a voice with their colleagues. And so now that's something that's happening on a weekly basis. And again, we met twice last year for the SPED committee in a total of 3 over the last year and a half. And we're hoping to actually, even though we're not slated to with the MOU, have a little follow-up time this fall to do another check-in to make sure we're on track with things. And then we're just proud that we had some recognition for some of our special education members, with Marissa Larson getting the CAC, the Community Award through our SELPA, and Brandon Herrera, who earned the Engage, Empower, Elevate Award with our district staff celebration. When we come over to the challenge side, you can see where all those successes, also we're on the other side dealing with some continued challenges with special ed. Our numbers continuing to increase, as Sean mentioned. That's not just us, that's SELPA-wide, statewide, countrywide. We did end the year with 419 eligible, which is the highest we've ever had. As the year went on, our overall sped population went up about 5% over the course of the school year. That's significant. We're a small district, but that's significant in any district. And the hiring remains a challenge. So while we were able to bring in a lot of new employees, we also had resignations of a lot of employees. And so, that's an ebb and flow that always happens, but special education, particularly with instructional aides, is just, it's a hard job, and it's hard to find people that really are committed to that job. So that is still an area that we need to work on. And then not only with the numbers, I just wanted to note that what we're seeing also with the increase of students identified with special needs is that we're seeing an increase in the level of support those students require. So in addition to having new students come to us that need support, we did see a doubling of the population of our extensive support needs students. So those are our students that require support in a wide variety of areas for academics, behavior, speech, occupational therapy. They might require an instructional aid. They might require a device to help them communicate. So those are things that, as you know, in real time, we're having to adapt to those needs as they come in. And then a big dramatic thing that I know you're all aware of is that with that, the needs of our students, that we also did double the number of actual dedicated adults we have to student ratio in the last school year.
Numbers that quantity-wise.
You'll see it in just a minute. I have a visual for you. I did want to just share some visuals just to get, I think it paints, it helps paint a picture of the enormity of the changes we've seen in a pretty short amount of time. So obviously this is year to year going back to 2018. And so typically I'm taking data from data points in our census day, which is in October. So we'll have an updated list for next year, for this coming school year, that I'll be able to share. Again, where our census day was in 24-25 was 396. When I met with the WFA committee in March, we were already up to 415 and we had 28 pending. So now we're starting the year. I think we're about 392 to start right now, but we have 29 students pending currently. And so that will increase as we finish this first month of school. We have a lot of pending assessments. So you can see almost year over year, it's a dramatic, and again, this would be a trend that we would see across districts, not just ours.
This is a bigger question than this, but is there any conversation or understanding why this is growing so exponentially?
We have definitely had lots of conversations at the SELPA with our fellow directors because we're all seeing the exact same thing. And I think there's some level of we're doing better by identifying students. We have really sound tools that we use. And I think we're learning a lot more about a lot of different things that will help us support students. But we don't know, because I think every director would say the same, that the students that are coming in with really intensive needs at a very young age. And we're all having to adapt to that and adjust things in real time.
And I would argue too, I think that there's been a little bit, that the stigma a little bit has been, it's been lessened. I think that people actually, are, in the past, there had been this sort of stigma about special education. I think we want to service students. I think parents realize that, and parents are now seeking more support from schools to help students achieve when they're at school and in life. So it's been, and parents are more, they understand the point. It's just been, there's more education out there about it. The benefits are more visible now. Things are just more public. And it's not kind of I think at times in the past it was sort of hidden. It's just not as much anymore. So not just here, everywhere, just nationwide, worldwide.
And I think initially, we were looking at numbers in the last few years and, attributing it to COVID and post-COVID bumps, and we definitely can see that. But beyond that, this year-to-year increase that's not COVID anymore. So there are other things, we're talking environmental fact. There's a lot of things that are out there to kind of consider, but I think we're all asking those same questions right now.
Just to follow up on Neil's conversation, comment, or your conversation was taking place, especially at the national level. This is a national level crisis, a state crisis. Obviously, we're seeing a global crisis about funding.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's what we rely on. Obviously, IDEA is a federal program, and right now that's sort of under assault. So we're not actually in a space currently where we're seeing that we're going to get anything more in terms of funding, but that is still, nothing's been officially changed yet, but we.
It's contrary to what is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. These two slides, this is more specific to that actually dedicated adult support. So again, you see on the left, the bar graph is really, this is highlighting the students that require like a dedicated adult with them. So we already do have, every special education teacher has 2 full-time aides that support their program and their caseload, which is, I think, actually a high ratio in comparison to the rest of our SELPA. We do a good job with that. But in addition, now we have others that also need more support throughout the school day. So again, you can see where we were pre-COVID, even post-COVID obviously got a bump, and then last year was quite dramatic. And, you know, I think so as we talk about goals for next year, obviously this is I wanted to highlight this because this is obviously our focus. On the right, you see more of a pie chart of sort of a breakdown of where those aides have come from in terms of, you know, from our district or from outside staffing agencies. And so for me, I'm hoping that using these as metrics in the future, I'll be able to now have comparables to show you where we are starting to address. Ideally, on the right, we want that blue piece of the pie to be much bigger, but already is trending that direction. And some of those other colors to be going down, because those are the agency staff when I'm extending, you know, more money to be used to support funding. We know that that's been a huge ballooning cost for our district. So this is a huge focus for us as we go forward.
And Cameron, are these 69, are the 69 full-time equivalent, or are they like some
6 hour.
part-time or they're full-time? Okay.
So Kim, but all that 69 is it? What's that? On that 69 number, is it pretty easy to calculate what that means in terms of dollars? Is it pretty
Yes.
linear?
And in terms of like, obviously, I call it the spreadsheet of insanity that I use to determine all of this.
I don't expect the number, but let's say the
But
number.
it is broken down, and then when I'm meeting with Sean, like, we know the cost first, and I'll talk about the ways we're trying to now mitigate the cost here with some of these, because it is, you know, obviously this is where last year, especially, we, you know,
Yeah.
kept coming back because needs were growing in real time. Like, we were really on our heels last year was in terms of the sheer numbers of students and the needs of the students that
Yeah.
came to us. So some things weren't planned for because we didn't know that that was going to be the case. But we also this year wanted to make sure we were trying to be better prepared. So at least we're not having to have such a knee-jerk reaction to come back to you more so often.
Yeah, because that's where I was going with the question is, I'm not sure how we plan for that.
You
based on-
can't. I mean, that is the reality, but it's
Right.
also, there's other ways we can be better prepared.
Can I ask what the spread of the different grade levels are, because that can be a little bit indicative of how long we're in it for?
Mhm.
Versus are they all
Yes.
also referred to?
So I will say that the majority are at our elementary level. Again, this is a snapshot of numbers from last year, so I will update it once we have, you know, an idea of really what we're dealing with this current school year. Last year, though, we did have 5 students start at the middle school that we weren't anticipating that required adult support, so that isn't what we're usually seeing. Right now, our needs are all at Holly Glen and Del Air predominantly, in terms of, and we would expect that. These are young 4-year-olds, lots of 4-year-olds running around. And we know that right now, that's where they're gonna need some more support, but the goal is over time, where appropriate, to fade.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask, is the 69 number taken at the same point in time as the number on the right? Because I count up.
No, so it was, well, actually, I used something similar at the time, but yeah, it's like 66 or something that
Yeah.
shows. What I didn't know actually, and this is where, again, part of our moving forward is that red epic was actually a higher number.
Okay.
So it just wasn't reflected on my initial pie chart.
Right.
Okay, next slide. So what are we going to do moving forward? And I'll try to go quickly because some things will be sped specific and others you've already heard in terms of our goals and initiatives district wide. I have some lofty goals, but I want to have them because I think I want to make sure that we're really focusing on this. And again, I did try to align some of our priorities to specifically our LCAP so that I know exactly where I should be focused and making sure that we're dedicating, resources to this area. So with safe learning environments, within our first LCAP goal, a goal is to ensure that 75% of Weisburn's IAs, instructional assistants, and registered behavior technicians will be Weisburn staff in 25-26. Now, when I look at a baseline from last year, it was 52% of our staff in special education support was Weisburn employees. So that's a 25% increase. That's a lot, but that's still a goal, and certainly something we're working towards. Some of the actions to work on that is just continue to hire and train district RBTs and IAs. Right now, we're up to 17 of our own registered behavior technicians going into this school year. I'm hoping to finish, and we have a couple of our current staff that are studying and going to school to get their certification as a registered behavior technician. They get paid more for that salary, and we have people that we want to recognize if they're wanting to go that way. This year, we did put in a request, and you'll see it on the agenda tonight, to add additional BCBA support to supervise these IAs. As you can see, it's a lot for Brandon, one person. That's why we said he was Superman, to manage and be present for, not only in the day-to-day supervision that's required to support the students directly, but also each of the registered behavior technicians requires actual supervision to maintain their certification. So in addition to the actual day-to-day job, he has to also manage them in a supervisor role. So we knew that we needed to increase some more support in that area. And the goal by doing that is hopefully also having more dedicated real-time support for our teachers and students, that maybe we can find ways to start reducing some of these, because it does take the process to add an adult to a child, and it's also to take away. We have to go through an assessment. You have to have data to show that that's a warranted change.
Get the point four, can we share that with another district?
We technically are. So we are requesting the 2 days a week. And we were able to find someone that's willing to do that and work in other districts as well from a contract standpoint. We are also just building our teams in terms of using resources where we can that doesn't cost anything. So we are bringing in, this year we have 3 psych interns. We usually had 1 a year. So we have 3 that are with our psychs right now, school psychologists, and we'll be supporting them in day-to-day, gathering information for assessments, being able to support or work with students and with being supervised as a way to support our teams more. And then just ongoing training, obviously. And this came from not only our teachers in our SPED committee, but also the aides themselves want to have ongoing training. So we already did the first week of school, have dedicated days that they worked, each worked with Brandon for about 2 hours to kick things off for the year. The next area, again, we've already talked at length about this tonight, and this is really where special education, the department, is really just supporting the initiatives within the district. We know, and it's a goal for me, that we make sure our SPED teachers also have the instructional practices they need to support students and move them forward. So we are really focused on supporting the district-wide initiatives. All of our special education teachers have participated in every PD. This coming Thursday, I'm working with Ed Services to have all of our intervention teachers and special education teachers complete the next level of the Sunday training. And we've made sure that now all teachers have their kits and what they need to implement that program. So that is a big focus for us this year, is that we've learned more about how to the science of reading, and now we're going to actually implement programs to support that with our students. And again, just continue the ongoing work in our PLC process. Tony, next slide. And then in the LCAP, it's kind of funny where you find everything, but basically what we're focusing on, for me, another priority I wanted to make sure I emphasize this year is the engagement. And actually we find this in LCAP 3, actually it's under Future Ready for some of the parent engagement opportunities. So a goal this year for the special education department is to hold 3 parent engagement events during the school year. And so this is something we talked about, Rebecca, I know earlier last year didn't quite get going. So we did already identify dates and focus areas for these 3 opportunities. The first is going to be more of a district-wide engagement with our Friendship Foundation and the Skechers Walk. More information will be coming out. That will be the peer-to-peer walk that takes place in October 19th, I think. We're not a district that's part of the peer-to-peer Ed Foundation right now, but we want to make ourselves known there so that they know Wiseburn is a presence here.
I don't
Yeah.
understand why you're.
So, but part of it is like, let's show up and we can show them that we're ready to be a part of it. And we want to really recognize that the Friendship Foundation does support our schools directly. So this year we'll have our 4th school finally have the Friendship Club. So Del Air is starting their Friendship Club this year. All of the other schools already have that. That's a monthly program where they come out and they support and they provide activities and pizza and engagement. Parents can come on campus and join. And it's for our students with neurodiverse needs, but also then we can bring friends in and create more of a social setting at school. So they do a lot to support our district. So we really want to make sure that we're doing that for them this year.
Can I ask a question about that? I went to register to do the thing, and Wiseburn obviously isn't listed on the thing. So are we supposed to select Friendship Foundation?
We'll select Friendship Foundation. So there's
Okay.
going to be, we have flyers so at some of the back to school nights, and there is a QR code, and it should automatically take you to the Friendship Foundation. If it doesn't, we'll make sure.
Yeah, I think it needs a
little
correction
clearer,
because
okay.
it's like, once you go into then actually register, then it asks you to select who you're
School.
supporting.
Yeah, we want to make sure that
So-
goes to the Friendship
Yeah.
Foundation. Make sure that gets out.
Okay.
And then again, just we're utilizing other resources with our parents over the course of the year, and we'll be sending information out. And then the other collaboration is just our ongoing with our site SPED meetings as well as our district SPED meetings. So this year we kind of got away from having district-wide special education meetings. It's important for our teams to come together. We just had that the first week of school where we brought in Amy Rogers from DWK to come and talk to our team. As well as our SELPA compliance person so that we can really focus on these areas. And finally, I think the most important that comes across usually for SPED is within the organizational strength and compliance area. And so again, I think Blake already shared some specific cost reduction goals that we have. I think for me, really targeting reducing costs by about 500,000 in terms of our contracted costs. So that was a focus for me because our contracts had become so unwieldy that this was an area that I really wanted to make sure I was looking at more intently. Again, last year sort of inherited things and want to now make sure I'm being more proactive with that. So we really are, again, with Sean, looking at things much more carefully, taking time to really budget as best we can, trying to account for what you don't know, but, so then that's the challenge, right? That we just don't know. So some things will still come up, but really trying to focus on this. And we know that the more we're able to bring in our own people, it's strengthening our organization as a whole. And it still is a cost that gets absorbed within the district, but it's much less than what we're paying for agencies right now with their staff and overhead. And then to ensure the compliance, there's really nothing but 100% we can have for compliance as a goal. This year, I'm happy to say, like 2 weeks ago, we did receive word from our SELPA director that Wiseburn was one of the 5 SELPA districts that didn't have any actionable items on any of their submissions for their reports this year. So that's really good. A good thing to end with. And again, part of this is really wanting to make sure my team is informed. I want them, it was beneficial to have Amy Rogers come and speak to the team, answer questions, and really make sure that they feel prepared. SPED is also a lot of other things, not just the day-to-day with students. It now has become bigger. There's a lot more complication to it. So I really want to make sure that we're focusing on supporting our teachers with that. And finally, just as we kind of head into the school year, where are we at just right now? As of today, we were able to hire 2 new speech pathologists for our district, not contracted. We were able to hire 2 new extensive support need teachers, one at TK2 at Holly Glen, and also an adult transition teacher. These are not easy positions to fill, and we have typically contracted out. So I'm really pleased that we were able to bring in our own people. We did hire 6 RBTs over the summer and 3 instructional aides. We have 2 more pending, hopefully. And again, I had this slide up from previous. We ended up again losing about 7 people right before school. So hiring, you gain and then you lose. So we're not quite at that percentage of 64% right now with district staff, but we are increasing. And again, the more BCBA support we have, I think will help us be more proactive with our students and not reactive and need to then add more if we're addressing it more in the forefront. And then also fortunate that we're able to add an additional program specialist this year. Dr. Denisha Sanford coming on board will allow a lot more direct contact at the site level to address these issues in real time. Again, hoping to be more proactive so that we can tackle some of this and hopefully get ahead of it a little bit. And that's it. Any questions?
No, I just want to say thank you for all of the work that you've done to improve things across the district, to get us to be actually able to see where we're at on things. It's a big difference from, just a couple years ago. Being able to tell us that we're at 100% compliance was a number that I had a hard time getting just a couple years ago. So really appreciate all of the hard work that has gone into doing that. And just to reiterate my support for bringing in more behavior technicians, both the RBTs, and to provide Brandon with some backup. That man can't be everywhere. And he's really needed because he's wonderful, but we need more support like him, especially as these numbers grow with the behavior supports, the challenges that we're seeing across the district and things like that. So anyways, thank you.
Yes, a great job in the presentation. I think you depicted the state of our special ed program here in Wiseburn well. I have a very good understanding, so thank you for that. And as you identified, there's challenges, but I want to give you kudos on your leadership to you and your team, because you seriously have a challenge here. And I think that the most important thing is that we're prepared with our staffing, whether it's internally or contracted, so that we can serve those kids. I mean, this is a significant increase. So just I commend you on being prepared prepared as well as you can for that kind of increase. So thank you again. I know it's tough work, so thank you.
Without being clairvoyant.
No, clearly. The theme of the night. And Kim, let me just add, in echoing my peers, like all of your peers, we're raising the bar here. And it's noticed and it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
We're gonna keep it going.
I have a short update and something that I have to give such a great wow to our elementary teachers district-wide and beyond. We had 85 teachers, not just teachers, we had elementary teachers, we had middle school special education teachers, we had special education teachers at the elementary level, speech pathologists, administrators at each school site at the elementary level, and district administrators attend the Getting Reading Right training that was put together, pensing what the governor's next move was going to be. And our staff came out in hordes. They went through a 20-hour training in Getting Reading Right around structured literacy and the science of reading. It was overwhelming, and the amount of tools are there. So I look forward to what our classrooms are going to look like, especially at that K2 age and above, with all the tools that we received and what supports that I can help provide and we can all help provide our teachers to ensure that these amazing strategies we learned about are being instilled in our teachers. So, I mean, bravo to everyone that was there. Our middle school teachers as well. I mean, it was over 30 of them signed up to do the WMS Institute, which really took a big lens this year and looking at that multi-tiered systems of support. Like, what is our tier 2 and our tier 3 going to look like, with really dissecting that pod time? And they were the first school that did our initial onboarding training of iReady, and they did it with such grace and calm, knowing that a change was going to happen. And so shout out to them and Ms. Wilberg for all that they did just to get school started with just a whole nother backpack of things to try and use. So thank you to all of them, because their support and what they did was amazing.
Good evening. Just a couple updates from me. I know we're trying to move forward, but I'm going to just take us back to a couple of things. we talked about already.
I like that, at least you prefaced it.
1980, 1990, what are we talking?
No, LROP, Dr. Goldman, you had asked about
Yes.
our numbers. So 2,207 families have submitted their paperwork, and out of that, we have 2,142 who have said yes to participate in
That's pretty
LROP,
good.
so about 97%, which is
What about, I said that leaves with something like 300 who have not, or two something who haven't
That's
responded.
361 who haven't responded yet. So a lot higher than last year. Last year, we had 771. And you might remember we had that challenge with the middle school where they're used to completing work on Canvas when they miss school. And so the students' concern and so the parents' concern was doing the double work between our online instruction and then their teacher assigned materials. And so Mrs. Wilberg, the principal at the middle school, and her team have worked to figure out a method so that we can count that work from Canvas towards LROP. So we should see some increases in those numbers this year.
Can you remind us what happens when, like, let's say a student's absent one day? How does that work with the LROP program?
Sure. So with LROP, students can receive instruction for planned or unplanned absences. So those unplanned absences, it might be one day, someone's sick for a day or two. They would receive an email from our LROP team and teacher, just indicating that they're eligible to participate in the program and providing them with instructions on how to log on to Schools PLP, where we have our online instructional materials.
How soon after they are absent do they receive that kind of?
The goal is that they receive it on that day, so they can complete the work the day that they're absent. We have some new team members, so we're getting that set up, and so so they're not getting it the day of just yet, but we hope to get that up and running pretty soon. But the goal is for them to receive it the day of. And then when parents have a planned absence, there's a Google form that they fill out that's on our website to let us know, we're planning on being absent for, these 3 days, these 4 days. And so the student would get the work ahead of time, ahead of that absence, so they can complete it while they're absent or upon their return.
Has that been communicated to the school? I don't remember seeing anything. I could have missed it. But is there a plan to communicate that in school newsletters or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. So some teachers have shared it, I think, at back to school night. I guess not all, which is okay. But yeah, we'll provide
A lot of information back to school night. So like I said, I'm gonna put this on me and say that I just didn't hear it, but I'm sure they all shared it.
Sure, yeah, there's a lot of information, but yeah, there will be formal announcements that go out in the weekly bulletin or maybe its own special announcements so that families would know how to participate.
Thanks for the reminders.
Also enrollment updates, we mentioned during Dr. Silver's presentation, we have 2,541 students currently enrolled. Not quite at our goal, but we still have some families that will be able to provide an acceptance to who have applied for a permit application. Our permit population right now is about 36% of that 2,500. And of that, we have a lot more TK students this year. So we added 3 TK classes this year for a total capacity of 180 TK seats, and 175 of those are filled.
Is that more residents than, I'm just curious for building for the future.
It's a lot of residents. I don't have the specific breakdown of permits for TK, but it is mostly residents. I'll get that number to you.
I think in our sort of cadence of presentations, we're gonna do like an enrollment presentation, so we'll be able to share.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I have the other key question, part of that presentation is of this 27 students we're short or whatever that number is, are they evenly distributed or do we have any holes in particular grades that are egregious?
We do have more holes. Let's see.
Like bubbles in some and holes in other or something?
6th grade, we're able to fill in the last week. Yes. So it's actually, our biggest gap is kindergarten. kindergarten and first grade, with 13 seats in kindergarten and 11 right now in first grade.
I would just added kindergarten.
DK.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
So that bubble's coming to fill those seats.
Yeah.
They have the pipeline
Yeah,
there.
that's good. Yes.
Right, so there's a big push for TK this year. So.
Will, enrollment update in the future kind of incorporate like facilities, if we need facilities, right? We don't have a classroom or something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see, yes, we can.
We don't envision that
Yeah,
right now, but just,
yeah, we can certainly, talk about what our, facility space is.
Yeah, by adding that TK classroom, although it's fewer to one, so it should be okay.
20 to 1, we should be fine. Yeah. Happy to share.
And finally, the board's being asked to approve an agreement for Capturing Kids' Hearts this evening, which, as you know, is the district's framework for social and emotional learning, implemented through adult practices and student curriculum. We hope that with Capturing Kids' Hearts, we're able to achieve those priority 4 goals that Dr. Silvers talked about earlier today, through reinforcing positive school culture, classroom culture, positive relationships, and just supporting student engagement, wellness, achievement, and attendance. And so you might have seen that there are several items on that agreement that focus on one, training teachers, specifically the middle school teachers who participated in that training in August, but also with Capturing Kids' Hearts, there's a big focus on counselors, administrators, and teachers working together through observation, sharing their experiences, and addressing our goals and working together to really identify the needs of teachers and students, and then towards providing the tools that are needed, and then working through any challenges and utilizing those tools. And so an additional piece to that, which is on that quote as well, that agreement as well, is the data piece. And so you'll see that there are district level and class and school site access points to the Capturing Kids' Hearts online platform. And that's where the surveys are provided for teachers to complete surveys, students as well, and families and counselors and administrators regularly look at that data to help identify what the needs are of our students and our teachers.
Are those ongoing surveys?
3 times a year,
Okay, great.
beginning, middle, and end.
All right, Noemi, your presentation, Noemi? Just kidding. Just kidding, sorry. Too late for the jokes. I am actually gonna cut some of my presentation or some of my updates today, just in the interest of time. I can do that at the next meeting. But one of the things I did want to do was tour the board through some of the presentations that we're gonna give throughout the year, just so you could see where we're gonna highlight some of our priority updates that we're trying to align to the priorities that you saw today. I'll wait for that. I just think that's gonna take a little bit longer, and I just think at 9 o'clock almost, it's not gonna, it's better not to do that now. So I'm gonna stick with some thank yous. I want to say that, we had some facilities upgrades this summer. When I say some, it was massive. And I know Roger, you mentioned that, but we're talking about flooring across 2 school sites. We're talking about ceiling tiles across 2 school sites. We're talking about access control across 2 school sites. And let alone TK conversion project over at Holly Glen, which that wing is absolutely amazing. If you haven't had a chance to go see it, I mean, it is just really, really, really amazing. We had the baseball field project, the to be determined baseball field project over at Del Air. The sports complex obviously is running. We had a lot of cleaning, just your general facilities and maintenance, right? You had your cleaning and power washing. And all the things. And so I just want to say, thank you to Archie, who helped be a boot on the ground for that, to Noemi and team, Cherie and et cetera, to the tech team. I know Tony is probably, you're owed a dinner for tonight from Jim. The longest meeting in Wiseburn history, and you're at it. And so I think Jim is laughing somewhere. But really the level of attention that went into making sure those access control panels were up, and have a little bit of a snafu with some of the gates, but we're working through some of that to make sure that access control is taken care of. Obviously Sean helping spearhead that. Certainly the hiring. Anisha helped spearhead that. You know, and I just want to say, you know, thank you to Kim. I know you all did too. I mean, this is a really, you know, sometimes I know you're feeling beat up every day and just know we understand that. And to the extent that we can help, we want to. And I, you know, really good job on the presentation and just the overall commitment. It's definitely noticed. So thank you for that. You know, want to thank Wendy. We've been down a person in the district office, and when you already are very low on people in the first place, being down a person is means that other people have to do triple, and I think Wendy's doing quadruple. So, you know, my hat's off. Thank you, Wendy.
Have you noticed she's been spinning plates this entire
Yeah, I know she's doing it. But I just think in the interest of starting a school year, the level of attention to detail that happens across various levels, various departments, is critical. And you know, I think the team really stepped up. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to the teachers. Had a chance to attend the back to school night of both aviation and Del Air. And, you know, that's a magical night. It's a special night. I got an email from a teacher today and just, you know, was talking about the special night, back to school night. And it really is. It's a special night. Parents are super happy and just the energy emanates. Probably more so than even open house, you know, but nonetheless, I just want to say thank you, and I'll leave it at that.
Turn it back over to you.
I do not want to skip Dr. Dougal in case she has an update.
I will pass my comments.
Sounds good. With that, we started at 5 o'clock with our course closed session. It is now 3 minutes to 9. So with the consent of the board, I'd like to take a recess for 10 minutes, stretch our legs a little bit, and come back at 9:10. All right, so we are going to get started at 9:09, and we are running ahead of schedule because I did say we'd return at 9:10. So here we go. Wendy, do we have any comments from the public on items that are on the agenda? All right. Thank you very much. We're moving on to section 9 of our agenda, which is consent items. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, item 9.1?
So moved.
We got
Some seconded.
Rebecca for a move and Nelson for a second. Any
A quick comment, just
comments?
a thank you. I was the legal, not legal, the guilty party who sent most of those comments and questions to Blake. And thank you, Dr. Silvers, for the responses on most of these things here. So I appreciate the insight and my questions are answered. So I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
But I appreciate those questions. That was.
He did have a lot of them.
Only one was mine.
Really?
Great.
I appreciated those questions.
Hearing nothing else, have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Aye. Yeah. Moving to section 10 for action items under general item 10.1. To approve the 2025-26 Wiseburn USD district priorities, in which we had a presentation by Dr. Blake Silvers a few moments ago.
So moved.
Motion by Neil. Michelle. Any comments or questions?
Thank you for the presentation. That was well done. Thank you.
I'm glad to see we're already making some of those goals. Thanks to Sean's work. We expect the pickup from the rest of the team. So there you go.
Fantastic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item 10.2, receive board policies for second reading and possible adoption. There are two board policies included here. One was for the uniform complaint system, and the other one was regarding the district permitting process. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Becca? A second?
Second.
Nelson? Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item 10.3, approve memorandum of understanding between the Wiseman Unified School District and CSEA and its Wiseman Chapter 486. Is there a motion? Michelle? A second?
Second.
Rebecca? Any comments or questions? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Item 10.4 is to approve settlement agreement for OAH case 205040387, and there are 3 of them on here. Unless there's any objections, I'd like to see if there's a motion for all 3, 10.4, 5, and 6. I can briefly read the numbers. 10.5 is case number 202-504-0498. And item 10.6 is case number 202-503-0928. Is there a motion?
And you have a second, 86753.
6-7.
Just like a
Oh, no,
6-7.
please.
Oh, gosh.
Not here. This was a secret, no 6-7 space.
Given that we have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
6-7. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
It's all cute and funny when you hear it like once a day. Not cute and funny when you hear it 57 times a day.
Moving to item 11.1 is to approve amendment number 1 to the existing agreement with NAZ Building Program Advisors for additional bond program management services through December 31st, 2025. Is there a motion?
So move. Second.
Thank you. Nelson, Rebecca, any comments or discussion?
Simple thank you to NAZ Builders. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Excellent.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Item 11.2 is amendment number 7 to agreement for Holly Glen Elementary School Transitional Kindergarten Playground Project for architectural design services with Corgan to be paid out of Measure EE bonds.
Would there be any objection to taking 11.2 through 11.10? If it's okay with
11-9.
9.
11.9? 11.9, if that's okay with my colleague?
I'll second that.
Motion by Nelson, second by Rebecca. That would be 11.2 through 11.9. Any comments or questions on any of those items? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0 for all those items. Item 11.10 is to adopt resolution number 25/26.05, resolution authorizing the delegation of authority to superintendent to award contracts for professional services and public works projects and to approve change orders up to the statutory limit. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Michelle. A second?
Somebody.
Anybody? Bueller, second.
I was waiting for Neil.
I have Michelle and Rebecca.
If there's, we don't need to pass this. If there's any-
I have one question. The question is, in my question to you and the response, it was noted that the stipulation was inserted that the superintendent, and by the way, this is just for a year, it's not ongoing, would call the president to get his or their feedback comment. I don't see that in here.
Section 2?
It is included, right?
I read it, but I must have missed it. So that's the thing I'm looking to see.
The district board hereby approves the delegation of authority in conference with the board president. It's section 2 on page 2.
In conference with the board, that means that the superintendent is supposed to confer with the board president.
Correct.
And if the board president is unavailable,
Vice President.
it's not stated.
It's not stated, but I think we can.
I think you
we
wouldn't
can-
be
we
able
can
to
add
move.
that. Why don't we add that and then just, before we execute that resolution, revise it? I'm perfectly.
I just want to make sure, I candidly want the superintendent to have a board oversight in some level, understanding the urgency of some of these matters.
I would think, I mean, you have colleagues that if the president is not available, it's implied that the vice president would.
Whoever that is. Yeah.
But I agree with the inclusion of it, so that it's there and it's a formal process for an approval.
Yeah, the superintendent would like to have conference with board members as well.
A board member.
Yeah.
This is an important checks and balances for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeking.
There's no
For
issue
protection of everyone.
I mean, I just want to say some of the context here is we did run into an issue, and just in the event that timing doesn't work, we ran into an issue with a piggyback contract where it expired. Luckily, you know,
Do you want me,
Shereen.
do you want me to come up and speak
Sure,
to kind of
sure.
where something like this would
Can we just make it
assist the
quick, though?
district?
Like, quick.
Yeah, I'll make it quick.
I'm just teasing.
I normally am very quick and to the point. So as Blake was, starting to discuss, there was a recent piggyback contract that we were going to use. Sorry, there we go. And, because we did not have any board meetings in August, the piggyback, did expire on September 2nd. And that specific one did not have any additional years of extension. So luckily, the company that we had contracted with for services did have a valid piggyback that we were able to use. So in instances like that, where we have an issue with board meetings and board dates and expirations of contracts, that's where it would be beneficial for the superintendent to have that delegation of an authority so they can enter into the contract during the valid time and then come back and ratify it with the board.
What was the amount of the contract? And this is not the first time we've been in a ratification circumstance.
Well, for public works contracts and POs, it would be, because you're just now looking at approving the delegation of authority to enter into those types of contracts and come back and ratify.
I mean, how much was it for?
The total of this contract was like 300,000.
And if we didn't ratify it, then the contract would be null.
But with the, correct, but with the delegation of authority, if you guys
Oh, I
approve
understand
that,
I'm just wondering,
then
in this
yes.
case, why couldn't we have just said, hey, reach out to board president?
because we don't have, the board has not adopted a resolution to delegate the authority to the superintendent. I consulted with legal counsel.
It was legal counsel.
Then how have we had ratification confirmations in the past?
This is specific to like construction contracts.
Oh,
Professional
this falls
services.
into a certain category that we
Correct.
had no leeway. Got it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I was gonna say, we didn't ask legal counsel.
La, la, la.
Exactly.
This is what happens when it's 9:20 at night.
I'd like to
All right.
strike that comment from the record.
Thank you.
Missing.
Thank you, Shereen.
Okay, on the motion by Michelle, the second by Rebecca, and the conversation we just had with the stipulation of adding, if the board president is not available, the conference will be with the vice president. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Section 12 is under fiscal. Let me look at this.
Can we do all of these
Is there
together?
a motion?
They're all fiscal.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve items 12.1 through 12.6?
You have a motion?
Okay, Nelson, is there a second? Michelle? Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion also carries 5-0. Personnel, section 13. How many items do we have on here? Oh, well, is there a motion to take all of them?
No, 13.
Item
All
13.1.
personnel items, yes.
Ratify partial unpaid leave of absence for 2025-26 school year.
So moved.
Neil? A second?
Second?
Rebecca? comments or questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Blake, do we have any need for a second closed session?
No, we don't.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
Okay, with that, is there a motion